MD hearing risk-free for 45 days by calling 800-918-3920. Plus, you'll get free shipping. Call now, 800-918-3920. That's 800-918-3920.
WAYY Eau Claire, W286CK Eau Claire, Sports Talk 105.1 and 790 AM. From the 715 Newsroom, it's your news done differently with Morgan McCarthy.
Well, good morning. Here's what we're learning today. Touching down in the middle of our week, we have an update from Mother Nature. And earlier this week, when we now have confirmation of 4 tornadoes that touched down in Eau Claire County. The National Weather Service confirmed 4 tornadoes touched down in Eau Claire County and were EF1 tornadoes. They're now out looking at damage in certain areas that were hit. You can find some full details online, 715newsroom.com. Keeping those headlines local, the body of a Chippewa Falls woman missing for 9 years has been found. You may have seen this on socials. Not a lot of details on how or where she was found, but she did leave her home in June of 2016 and was last seen the next day running from her vehicle on a road in St. Cloud, Minnesota. Property owner in that area finding remains confirmed to be hers, as both St. Cloud and Chippewa Falls police say they'll have more updates in the coming days. A deadly motorcycle crash remains under investigation and claimed the life of a 55-year-old Dunn County man. This happened yesterday on 420th Street. First responders arrived and found that there was a man laying in the roadway. He was flown to a hospital where he did later die. Initial reports say he swerved to get out of the way of hitting a deer and lost control. Full details you can find at 715newsroom.com. On the state scene, it's in the books, but there were a lot of eyes on Green Bay. Second most watched draft ever is the early call, with the average audience being 7.5 million viewers watching the draft held in Titletown in our state, making it the second most watched NFL draft ever, only behind the 2020 draft. Now, what do you think? Raisins in a cookie? Mean trick. They look too much like chocolate chips. Can you make an exception today?
We'll start with a cookie that is always in the top 5 of favorite cookies, according to Cravery. Packed with vitamins and antioxidants, and 77% of us like it without raisins. But put a raisin in that cookie, and that number drops to about 23% for likability. A Reddit poll shows most people believe raisins are okay, but not great, but also not the enemy, unless it's in your oatmeal cookie. I'm Bree Tennis.
I mean, where do we start? We can dig into the numbers here for Kasper. Turns out when it comes to Packers knowledge, he ranked really high. People into that. I think the survey brought back like 75% of people think he knows what he's talking about.
And that number drops to about 23% for likability.
We put out a poll question about his attitude. Overwhelmingly, the response,
okay, but not great.
And they did ask. Kasper said, ask about Morgan picking on me. People said, sure, it might be a little mean on occasion,
but also not the enemy.
Hey, for Sports Talk 105.1. I'm Morgan McCarthy.
I want to grab that heavier coat this morning as clear skies and light winds have allowed temperatures to cool off in the 30s. Thankfully, as we get behind high pressure today, those southerly winds will return, therefore highs topping out in the mid to upper 60s. That will be accompanied by mostly to partly sunny skies before thicker cloud cover arrives tonight. We'll have a chance of showers, lows in the upper 40s, a few more showers possible tomorrow. On 13 First Alert, meteorologist Derek Dahlman.
This update sponsored by UW Credit Union. For every stage of life, UW Credit Union is here for every you. Delta Dental is proud to sponsor Family Sundays at Helfair Field. Play catch on the field on Sundays from 10:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. prior to Brewers' regular season home games. Admission is free. Join UW Credit Union at uwcu.org, insured by NCUA.
True Green. Get a golf course quality lawn for less than you think. Sign up at truegreen.com. That's TRUgreen.com. True Green, the official lawn care treatment provider of the PGA Tour.
Good morning, sports fans and enthusiasts from every corner of the globe. It's time to rise and grind because it's game time.
What time is it? Game time!
So grab your coffee, turn up the volume, and get ready to join the conversation.
Y'all ready for this?
Because the Dan Kasper Show begins right now.
Oh my God! Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm.
Here's your host and maestro of sports knowledge himself, Dan Kasper.
Let's go!
What up, everybody? Good morning and a very happy Wednesday to you all. Yes, the voice does not sound like myself, but we're going to power through on this Wednesday morning. Big thanks for tuning in wherever, however you may be tuning in from. If it's on the radio dials, 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Also available online, streaming up at sportstalk1051.com. Get your smart devices, smart speakers, the app, download it, take it on the go. Video streams are also up and rolling on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Instagram. So appreciate you making us a part of your start on this Wednesday morning, and appreciate you understanding that the voice is not back at full 100% power yet barely from the draft of 600,000 people there bound to probably catch something, and well, I did. That's why I was out yesterday, because I literally could not talk at all yesterday. So we'll make her through here this morning, because we've got plenty of stuff to catch up on. Bucks, their season is in the books, officially over with. They had the lead with under a minute to go, but the Pacers able to tie it and force overtime, where Tyrese Halliburton hit a game-winning layup with just a second left. So Pacers knocking out the Bucks. Now begins a very, very, very interesting offseason for the Milwaukee Bucks in terms, I mean, they've got a lot of questions. Doc Rivers, is he back as head coach? You know, Dame is going to be out for a while with that torn Achilles. And then Giannis. You know, I not to fall in. I know we have, for many times, kind of criticized, critiqued some of the national talking heads about Giannis leaving the Bucks and that, but I think this is a major offseason when you factor in Dame missing some time, maybe missing a big chunk of next season. I think they got questions they answer when it comes to what's the plan going to be for Giannis and such. So major questions surrounding this Bucks team heading into this offseason. But hello drama after the game. Giannis getting in a couple of scuffles, including with Tyrese's dad. But Tyrese Halliburton saying after the game, too, his dad was the one that was at fault, shouldn't have been on the court, and trash talking with the likes of Giannis and such. So, but yeah, definitely tell this is a big time, maybe not big time quite yet, but a pretty darn good rivalry in the NBA. A lot of bad blood brewing between these two teams. So we'll talk some hoops and talk about what should the Bucks do with this offseason, heading into this offseason. If you were the man in charge, which is John Horst, or you were a part owner, major decision maker for the Milwaukee Bucks, what would you be doing this offseason? Let me know. Hit me up with a text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, 715-830-1912, or you could comment on the video streams or hit us up on the socials. So we'll talk some hoops. Brewers picking up a win last night against the White Sox, 7-2. Freddie Peralta picking up his third win of the season to improve to 3-2 after off to a slow start, giving up a couple solo shots in the first inning. Settling down after that, and the Brewers not allowing any more runs after that. Just 4 total hits by the White Sox last night. But it was 4 runs in the 6 that helped the Brewers take back the lead after Isaac Collins homered in the first inning to give the Brewers an early but short 1-0 lead. But it was 4 runs in the 6 that got the Brewers back on top, and a couple more insurance runs in the 8th to help secure the win for Game 1 of this series. Tonight, we've got Tobias Myers making his second start of the season. So the Brewers will be looking for at least a series win going up against the White Sox. Brewers still remain 3 games back from the Cubs for first place in the division. Cincinnati still above them too. Brewers are 1.5 behind them, but the Brewers are back to 515-15 on this season. So we'll talk some Brewers, including another Brandon Woodruff updates, maybe getting closer and closer to seeing Woody suiting up in a Brewers uniform and being back on the Major League Ball Club. So baseball talk coming at you this morning. We'll talk a little Packers. Packers officially making it official yesterday with the signing of Isaiah Simmons, the linebacker, which was reported that a few weeks ago. Was it a few weeks ago? Yeah, it was before the draft. He had visited Green Bay, former first-round pick, and the Packers making it official yesterday that they have signed the linebackers. Packers labeled him a linebacker, but he's kind of a hybrid linebacker safety. So we'll hit that up because if you look at what the Packers have done in the past year plus, they've got some interesting Swiss Army type of players, both on the defensive and offensive side. Defense, Simmons being one of them. I'd throw Javon Bullard as in that category. Safety, slot type of person. One of the rookies, Colin Oliver, who is just a solid pass rusher, but he's kind of in between as an edge rusher or maybe a linebacker, size-wise, but kind of a Swiss Army knife type of player there. And then offensively, Jane Reed and then rookie Savion Williams. So kind of interesting. And I like it too because it gives you a little versatility and some flexibility with what you want to do on the offense and defensive side. But Packers adding some players that maybe could do a couple different things instead of just pigeonholing them and saying, okay, you're going to do this and that's the only role you have on here. So, but I like, not saying Simmons is going to make the team or anything like that, but you got some more depth and maybe some versatility and flexibility with the signing. But that wasn't the biggest news yesterday. Our good friend Rob Domofsky from ESPN had reported yesterday, according to a source, the Packers and Jaire Alexander continue to talk about a possible resolution, which could include a reconciliation to where Alexander plays for the Packers in 2025. All options, as he noted, are still on the table, including a release, a trade, or a potential return. All right. I didn't think we'd get here. I mean, you hear everything that Goody said leading up to this. It painted the picture of Jaire Alexander gone, out. But maybe they're not finding valuable return for him. And when you consider what they did in a draft by not getting a corner very high, could these two parties meet in the middle, reconcile for at least a year, and join forces for one more year? Here's the thing. I'd be all game for that. I didn't think it'd happen. I'd be all game for it, though. You bring back Jaire for this year, pair him up with this team. Because, again, after the draft, we said it on Monday, I think when you look at it from a roster standpoint, if you took a look at the position groups, to me, corner would have the biggest question mark. Yes, they invested in Hobbs in the offseason. They've got Nixon and Carrington Valentine, but still, you're like, is there like a legit number one corner on there? And a couple of those guys may be better as like nickel or slot corners. If Jaire comes back, then I think that answers a ton of questions and instantly boosts the stock of this team. And I think that would be met with a lot of enthusiasm within the locker room. Now, I don't want to get my hopes up too much, trying to stay a little cautious and such, but I think that's a big note from Rob Domofsky. And this was just a couple days ago too. Tom Silverstein from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, said the Packers are still looking to trade Jaire Alexander, still looking for that. But now you got Rob, our good buddy Rob, saying they continue to talk about a possible resolution, including a reconciliation. So, your thoughts on that? I don't know if that would mean an adjustment to his contract. I know it's easy for some fans to say, adjust his contract to where it's playing time incentives, et cetera, et cetera. That'd be great. That would be awesome. Team would probably love to do that. Here's the thing. Jaire's already under contract, and he could say no to all that. So it takes two to tango. Okay. It can't be just as simple as saying, Jaire, this is what you're going to do this year. This is what you're going to play for. He's already under contract. That'd be awesome if he'd agree to it. But again, it would take two sides to do that. So we'll hit that up. We got stock risers, stock fallers. Who is your stock riser? Who is your stock faller? You can make your picks by hitting us up with that quick text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line at 715-830-1912 or commenting on the video streams as well. So let's get things going here this morning, shall we? We'll open it up talking about a little bit of everything here this morning, the smorgasbord of topics. Buck season is in the books. Major questions heading into this offseason. I think it makes it even more major because of Dame's injury and because Dame is going to miss a huge, huge chunk of next year. And I think that throws a bigger wrench into all this. So you got that. And now you're going to get ready. If you don't want to hear it, but you're going to hear it, there's going to be talks about it, about Giannis's future with the Bucks. Got some saying right now should be the time to start the quote-unquote rebuild for the Milwaukee Bucks. Are you on that boat? And that rebuild might include shipping Giannis. Talk some Brewers, and then let me know about the Jaire and the Packers thoughts too. So we'll take that first break. I'm going to need you to chime in this morning. Give me your takes, all right? Help my voice out here a little bit this morning by participating in the program, okay? We got our first break. Lead off coming up after these few words.
Got a take on today's topics but can't call in? Then hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, or the text line and let your fingers do the talking.
Save big money on everything you need for your next project at Menards. Steelworks offers a wide selection of aluminum and steel materials for any project. Choose from durable steel angle iron to tubular steel and aluminum and steel sheets and rods that are built to last. Perfect for DIYers and professionals alike to get the job done right. Shop and save today on Steelworks products at Menards. Plus, check out our weekly flyer at menards.com for even more great deals.
Save big money at Menards.
We don't want to get into this situation, but what happens when your car breaks down and you need a tow? Who do you call? You call AJM Automotive in Eau Claire. Not only is AJM Automotive your go-to place when it comes to auto repairs, but they also offer towing services too, and they offer a discounted towing rate for vehicles brought to their location. So if you get into a situation where you need to be towed and you need to have your vehicle fixed, AJM Automotive in Eau Claire has you covered. Just give them a call at 715-835-9523.
Could there be a better name? Auto Value Parts Stores. They aren't just about air fresheners or fuzzy dice. Auto Value Parts Stores are all about parts, auto parts, and advice. Pros who know auto parts with tons of tips when you need them the most. You want real value? Don't go to a place with a cute name. Go to Auto Value. Could there be a better name? I didn't think so. Your Auto Value Parts Store. We've got the parts. We've got the smarts.
Spring is here, which means one thing: turkey hunting season. So you've got your tags, you know the dates you're heading out to the woods, but what's missing? That new turkey shotgun and some extra shells. It's time to hit up Tilden Gun. Locally owned and operated, Tilden Gun has the best selection of firearms in the area and all at the best prices in the area. Their expert staff will help you find the hunting firearm that you want and that fits your price range. And if you're not a turkey hunter, but you're in the market for a new deer rifle, or you want to check out their wall of handguns, they will help you find just what you're looking for. And if you have a little left over from your tax return this season, purchase something for yourself this year. You deserve it. So give them a visit today at tildengun.com or check out their shop located at 12427 98th Avenue in Chippewa Falls. Now the only thing left on your to-do list this turkey season is working on your calling skills. So get to practicing. On behalf of Tilden Gun, best of luck and be safe in the great outdoors this season.
I think it's time we have the talk. 30 minutes, that's all it takes. Well, at least to update your website. With Websticks, you can buy blocks of time and use them when and how you need. Let's say you own a restaurant. With just one block of time, Websticks can update a menu item or add a phone number. Whew, I'm glad we finally had this talk. Find out more at websticks.com. That's websticks with an X.com.
Stunning sights, more clicks, web support from Websticks.
Progressive knows if you have to choose between everyday life and your boat, boat wins.
What are you gonna do? Take the boat out for a spin or go mail something?
Boat wins!
Are we cleaning the patio or taking the boat out fishing?
Boat wins!
Are we skipping that eye exam to go sailing?
Boat wins!
Rescheduling eye exams can be a nightmare.
All right, fine. Eye exam, then boat.
Yeah!
With Progressive, you can bundle your boat with your home or auto and save with a discount and spend more time enjoying those savings on your boat. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states and situations.
Service Master of Chippewa Valley is your local expert when it comes to fire and water damage, carpet and air duct cleaning, mold remediation, and trauma. They're when you need them 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Trust comes in the yellow truck. Learn more at ServiceMasterChippewaValley.com.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code YEAR to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code YEAR for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code YEAR for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
Broadcasting live from the TDS Sports Talk 105.1 studios, it's the Dan Kasper Show.
Coming up this Saturday, May 3rd, Kentucky Derby Party at the VFW Post 305 on Star Avenue. Starting off at 4 p.m., come and watch the race with the fine folks at VFW Post 305. There will be drink specials and food specials. Prizes for the top 3 Derby hats. So if you got a sweet or a cool-looking Derby hat that you can wear, bring it. Make sure you wear it on down to the VFW Post 305. You don't need to wear one if you don't have one, though, to join in on all of the fun. And then a week later, May 10th, 3 p.m. So who knows how long the party's going to go. Got a meat raffle going on at the VFW Post 305. Proceeds will go to the Eau Claire American Legion Baseball Club. There are many fees for families, and all proceeds will go to this worthy cause. This will be a fun event for all, and there will be food and drink specials as well. Coaches will be working hard running the raffles. Vintage apparel will also be available to purchase. 50/50 raffles also available to participate in, as well as silent auction items. So this Saturday, VFW Post 305, you've got the Kentucky Derby Party, and then the following Saturday, May 10th, meat raffle to help out the Eau Claire American Legion Baseball Club. All right, let's get things rolling here this morning. Buck season is officially over with. If you could describe this Buck season in one word, what would it be? I think for me, if I could describe this Buck season in one word, it would be it's not a very good word, but it's all I could come up with at the top of my head is just like weird and annoying. Maybe annoying is the better one. I'm going to go annoying because, gosh, it doesn't seem like it was that long ago when the season first started. What, October? And the Bucks got off to that insanely slow start. Dug themselves into a big hole. Then they climbed out of it. It's like, all right, now here we go. All right. Back to playing Bucks basketball. And then it was just up and down. inconsistent. Inconsistency might be a good word to describe it too. He had some injuries here, left and right. The Bobby Portis suspension, obviously the Dame calf, blood clot in his calf. But then he was able to come back, and then the torn Achilles, the Chris Middleton trade to bring in Kyle Kuzma. It was, man, you could probably come up with a bunch of different words to describe this season for the Bucks, but I'd probably go weird, annoying, inconsistent, all over the board. It was just anything that could happen. It almost seemed like it could happen in a negative way for the Bucks. This is definitely a season that I think a lot, if you're a diehard Bucks fan, you're going to remember, but not necessarily in a good way. When you factor in everything. Now, we've got a major offseason heading in here. John Horst is going to lead this offseason, which surprises me. Late last week, signed to an extension. I thought, and I think a lot of others thought, could he be on the hot seat? Could he be on the way out? Along with Doc Rivers. John Horst is going to be back unless the owners all of a sudden have a change of heart and they don't care about shelling out extra money. But John Horst is going to be back, and John Horst is going to be the general manager leading this team into this very, very interesting, major, questionable offseason for the Bucks. Just a couple questions that they've got to figure out and they got to answer. One is the head coach. Is Doc Rivers back? And I could see this playing out in a couple different ways. One, he's just back as head coach, which I think, honestly, would probably upset a majority of Bucks fans. Maybe not all of them, but a majority. Two, I could see this reassignment, if you will, where he gets a different role within the organization. I could see that. Like an advisor type of role or whatever. And that allows the team to bring in a new head coach. Or he's just straight up fired. And they're paying off another fired coach. Those are the scenarios at play. Or I guess you could throw a fourth one in here and he just straight up retires. So those are the scenarios at play. Me, without factoring in, I'm not the one cutting the checks. I'm not a part of the ownership group cutting out the checks and paying these fired coaches and such. But if it were me, I think you need a change in leadership from the coaching standpoint. I think you've got to bring in a different voice leading this team. It didn't work out. Okay, I know it was only a year and a half, but it did. You could just tell it's not working. Whether that's maybe a Darvin Ham, you promote him. I know the Bucks players love Darvin Ham. He's an assistant, coached with the Lakers for a couple years. Before that, he was a Bucks assistant. Maybe it's bringing him, promoting him. Maybe it's Malone from the Denver Nuggets, who recently just got fired. Or maybe it's Taylor Jenkins, who got fired from the Memphis Grizzlies this year. And Taylor Jenkins is a former Bucks assistant, 2018 to 2019. Yes, he's part of the Mike Budenholzer coaching tree. Okay. Those would be some of the names. And then if it is a new head coach, if you are looking at bringing a head coach, you gotta factor, okay, are we gonna go with the first timer? Gonna go with that route again, like they tried with Adrian Griffin? Or is it going to be a retread? And I think to answer that question is going to be, well, what's the roster going to look like next year? What's the thought process with players? Is it going to be a quote unquote rebuild? Or is it going to be, all right, we're not moving on from Giannis. We're not moving on from, a couple of our main players. It's that retool. We've heard that a lot when it came to Green Bay, right? If it's a retool, I think maybe you try to bring in a guy who's got a little bit of experience. Maybe it is the Darvin Ham. Maybe it is a Taylor Jenkins. If you are going with a complete rebuild where you are moving on from Giannis and all that stuff, then yeah, maybe you try a first-time head coach. But I think to answer the coach question, if it's going to be a move where they move on from Doc Rivers or Doc Rivers decides to move on from himself, I think first, you have to figure out what's the game plan for the roster. Damian Lillard's injury is a huge wrench into this because he's going to miss a ton of time next year. Timeline-wise, the fact that it happened in the postseason, maybe after the new year, maybe after January next year, but that might even be pushing it. Him tearing that Achilles is a major wrench into this thing. Because if he's back, he's healthy, he's on a roster, I think you roll it back with Giannis and Dame for one more year. But the fact that he may be missing all of next season or a huge chunk of it, that brings into a big question what you do. Now, the fan in me, of course, I want Giannis back with the Bucks. I want Giannis with the Bucks throughout his whole career. Is that best from a business standpoint? I'm not bringing this up because I think, it's like he should go to a bigger market and all that sort of stuff. No, that's not it. And I'll be honest with you, I think you try. Even without Dame, I think you try for another year with Giannis, but you've got to do a better job in free agency. You don't have any draft picks. Like, you don't have anything to acquire for first-round picks or like anything like that. I think you try one more year. And that's even without Dame. But you have got to hit in free agency. You have got to make better decisions. Now, they're going to have a little bit more flexibility in free agency because, they've got the Chris Middleton contract off the books. Kyle Kuzma still makes about $24.5 million. Brook Lopez is scheduled to be a free agent. So you're going to have him off the books. So you'll have a little bit. They're going to be in a better financial spot than they have been in the last couple of years. Pat Connaughton, I would imagine, is probably going to come off the books too. Or they're going to try to move him. The weird thing is that he's got a player option on his contract, which may make things a little bit more difficult in that department. But I'm looking at Spot Track and their contracts right now. Giannis, his cap hit, him and Dame's cap hit is the same. $54.5 million apiece. Each of them 35% of the cap. Now, could there be, I'll be honest, I don't know if they could get away with maybe some injury insurance or injury, I know some leagues have that, some, a little injury protection and such. But that's 70% of the cap in two players. Kyle Kuzma has 14.5. But you look at Kyle Kuzma here too, and I'm just kind of looking at, so he's not scheduled to be an unrestricted free agent until 2027, 2028 season. So, but again, do you move on? Because I'm looking at maybe they move on from him too and try to go, we don't want to pay $23.5 million on the cap and try to move on from him too. Oh, I don't know. Because he's guaranteed 21. So that's a tough one. But you see all these decisions, and they just got to get younger too. They got to get younger playmakers on this ball club. They got to get younger guys on here. So, if it were me, I know it's probably more of my fanism coming through on this. I'd want Giannis for at least another year. Try to hit this offseason. You're going to get Brook off the books. You've got Middleton off the books. The Dame injury throws a complete wrench into the situation. but maybe you try one more year with Giannis. But I understand the narrative that is out there right now with maybe it is time to move on from Giannis and accumulate some more capital, like player capital, draft capital, and just start the rebuild. The thing is with the NBA, the rebuilds are so it's not a for sure thing. Like after a couple of years, you're going to be back in as a playoff contender. I mean, you got to hit on your draft picks and you got to hit on some free agent stuff. And I think for a market like Milwaukee too, what's going to be a draw outside of money? Money talks. Money is the number one thing. But what's going to be a talk for a lot of free agents out there? You know, if they move on from Giannis, it's not going to be the luxury or the option to go play with Giannis in Milwaukee. You move on from him, you're not going to have that as a selling point. So maybe you have to pay a little bit more for top free agents to come to Milwaukee just because of the market. It's not Miami. It's not New York. It's not LA. But I wouldn't be surprised if Milwaukee listened maybe to some offers this offseason just to see if they get an offer that they can't refuse. I don't know what that offer would look like. It would have to, I would imagine it would have to be a crap ton of picks. And some players in there too. But, you know, ideally it would turn into a situation like the Clippers. Not the Clippers, the Thunder, excuse me. The Thunder. It would turn into a situation like the Thunder where, okay, they had their chance with KD and Westbrook and even James Harden over there, and it didn't work. Harden was the first to move on. Then it was KD. Then they had Westbrook for a hot minute by himself. Wins an MVP over there. Then he moves on. And then it was a couple years. But then they were so savvy with some front office moves and, you know, accumulated so many picks, but they drafted right. They made some really good picks. They got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They've got Chet Holmgren. They've got all these picks. And they've built this young core of talented players. And they're a draw, I would imagine, for impending free agents too, because of the young talent that they got over there. That would be the best case scenario for the Bucks, but that's not a given. And right now, considering how the Bucks have approached the draft the last few years, I don't know if I trust the Bucks when it comes to the draft. So while I understand it, if they would look to trade Giannis, if they do trade it, I would understand it. I get it from a business side. As a fan, it would suck, and I'd hate it. But at the same time, it's like, that's the NBA, and I hate it. And I hate how that's the NBA. Hate that. I do feel like that maybe for the Bucks, that is last case scenario for them. I think that's last case scenario that I think they'll listen, but I don't think they're gonna be like really, really, really aggressive in trying to trade Giannis. But who knows? Who knows? I think the Dame injury really puts a wrench into this whole thing. The fact that he's probably going to miss all of next year or a huge chunk of next year is such a huge, huge issue for this team. If he was healthy, maybe they run it back one more year with those two. But the fact that he's going to miss as much time as he's going to miss, that makes things a lot more difficult. All right, we got to take a quick break. We'll be back to finish up the first hour after these quick words.
For over 8 years, QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in non-surgical relief for joint pain, with over 50,000 satisfied patients. People with knee and back pain now living pain-free. Shoulder and hip pain, gone. What they're doing is nothing short of remarkable. They're using regenerative cell therapy to restore the tissue in your achy joints. They're using biologic growth factors with robust healing properties carefully and strategically placed in your joint. powerful and potent way to give your joints new life, repairing old tissue. Best part, with QC Kinetics, there are no drugs, no surgery, no downtime. This is an all-natural cellular level option with lasting relief. The patient satisfaction reports are astonishing. Imagine doing all the things you enjoy this summer without being slowed down by that joint pain in your knees or back. Call QC Kinetics now and learn about these cutting-edge treatments that could help you live your best life. It's a free consultation. Call 715-443-4440. 715-443-4440. That's 715-443-4440.
Your new go-to spot in the Triple Valley is the VFW Post 305, located on Star Avenue in Eau Claire. Whether you're looking for somewhere for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, or a place to hang out with some great entertainment and events, you can't beat what the VFW Post 305 has to offer. A great food menu and bands on weekends. Plus, with spring here and summer around the corner, you cannot beat the view of their patio facing the river. So the next time you're thinking about where to have breakfast, lunch, or dinner, or to just have a good time, the answer is simple. It's VFW Post 305 on Star Avenue in Eau Claire. When it comes to one-stop shopping, there's truly only one store in the Chippewa Valley that can carry that title, and that's Hy-Vee in Eau Claire. From grocery shopping and picking up some new team apparel in their sports shop, to grabbing a beverage at the bar or picking up something from their massive wine and spirits department, Hy-Vee has something for everyone. And if you want someone else to cook for the night, they got you covered with many different options from their food court. Then when you head out, don't forget to fill up your gas tank with the fuel savers you earned by shopping at Hy-Vee. So the next time you go shopping, shop smart. Shop Hy-Vee in Eau Claire.
Okay, who's ready to fish? Fleet Farm's all stocked and ready to go with the hottest brands to help you gear up for the season. Like the latest lines and lures from Berkley, Fluger rods and reels, Northland tackle, bobbers, and bait, all sorts of Senko worms, the best in fish finders from Humminbird, Lowrance, and Garmin, St. Croix rods, new releases from Abu Garcia, and more. Stop in and check out the latest fishing gear from all your favorite brands at the best prices guaranteed at Fleet Farm.
Thanks for calling Discover. This is Nia.
Hi, Nia. It's Jennifer. Did you know that Discover automatically doubles all the cash back you've earned at the end of your first year?
Yeah, I work here.
Okay. I was just double checking. Get it?
Because Discover automatically doubles all the cash back you've earned at the end of your first year?
Oh, you get me, Nia.
Well, you could say that I double get you.
I guess we've taken it too far.
You earn, we match. Discover Cashback Match. See terms at discover.com/creditcard.
Warmer weather means more time on your feet. Make sure every step feels great. Whether it's running, walking, or working, proper support matters. The Shoe Doctor carries a wide selection of supportive shoes, custom insoles, and footwear solutions designed for comfort and performance. Stop in to find the right fit for spring and summer activities. The Shoe Doctor, helping feet feel their best season after season. Visit the Shoe Doctor today at 2321 East Claremont Avenue or online at shoedoctoreauclair.com, where comfort starts.
I think it's time we have the talk. 30 minutes, that's all it takes. Well, at least to update your website. With Websticks, you can buy blocks of time and use them when and how you need. Let's say you own a restaurant. With just one block of time, Websticks can update a menu item or add a phone number. Whew, I'm glad we finally had this talk. Find out more at websticks.com. That's websticks with an X.com.
Stunning sights, more clicks, web support from Websticks.
Save big money now on pre-finished siding at Menards. Update and beautify your home with your choice of 13 timeless colors of pre-finished LP Smart Side engineered siding. It's durable and includes a Sherwin-Williams machine-applied paint warranty. That means no painting for years to come. Save big money today on all LP Smart Side products. Plus, check out our weekly flyer on Menards.com for all the great deals happening now.
Save big money at Menards.
The latest sports news, scores, opinion, and commentary. If that's not enough, you should seek professional help. The Dan Kasper Show.
You know what season it is? It's pothole season, and potholes means loose debris on the road that kicks up and hits your windshield, leaving a lovely crack in that windshield. So now what? Simple. Give a call to the experts at Post Glass and Mirror, where their specialists will quickly repair chips and cracks to your windshield. You can trust the fine folks at Post Glass and Mirror in Chippewa Falls to get you back to safe driving by repairing that cracked windshield. Just give them a call today at 715-229-3754 or visit them online at postglassandmirror.com. Jeremy on our texting line says, I hate to say it, but the Bucks should look to trade Giannis. I feel that no matter what they do, it's going to be a first-round exit. Giannis has been great for the Bucks, arguably the greatest in franchise history, but he deserves a chance to win. That would also give the Bucks a chance to infuse some youth and get some draft picks. Are they still paying Coach Bud and Coach Griffin? They're not paying Coach Bud anymore. They were done doing that after this season was over with. Coach Griffin, yes, and all the way through the 2026-27 season. So Bud comes off the books. Griffin, he's still got a couple more years there. So continue to send us your thoughts about the Bucks. We'll get back to some more of your comments about the Bucks and such a little bit later on. Wrapping up this first hour. A big little nugget yesterday that came from our good friend Rob Domofsky, ESPN.com. Obviously now, after the draft is over with, the big question mark surrounding Green Bay is, what's the status of one Jaire Alexander? And Rob tweeted out yesterday, according to a source, the Packers and Jaire Alexander continue to talk about a possible resolution, which could include a reconciliation to where Alexander plays for the Packers in 2025. All options are still on the table: release, trade, or a return. And this comes just a couple days ago, too, that Tom Silverstein from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, covers the Packers for the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, said that the Packers were still looking to trade Jaire Alexander. Might have been a few days ago. So I think that's a big update. I think that's a big update for this Packers team because, again, you look at the draft and you look at what the Packers did in the draft, and they did target corner early. Waited till the 7th round for the second year in a row to grab a corner. And I think after the post-draft, if you look at the depth chart and you look at the roster, at least for me, I look at corner as maybe the biggest question mark in terms of depth. Yes, they signed Hobbs this offseason. They've got Nixon. They've got Carrington Valentine. Javon Bullard could play a little nickel. But that's still a question mark for me, especially when you consider that maybe Nixon and Hobbs, especially Hobbs, is better as an outside corner, or is better as an inside corner, excuse me. So then you're looking at, all right, the weakness may be outside corner. If somehow these two parties, Alexander and the Packers, could sing a little kumbaya and, shake their hands and kind of get their differences swept to the side and say all is good, that answers a big question. Now, I know there's going to be some fans saying, well, I would have it so Jaire's got incentives for this year, playtime incentives. That's cool. That's great. And I think the Packers would totally agree with you on that. The big issue, though, is that Jaire already has a contract, and Jaire doesn't have to agree to that. He doesn't have to if he doesn't want to. And apparently that has been a major hookup from other rumors and reports out there when it's come to the trade, that Jaire's refusal to kind of adjust his contract. So I don't know if these two sides can come to an agreement and Jaire suits up for the green and gold in 2025, if they will have a little bit of a restructuring contract or not. I don't know. Jaire doesn't really have to. He could say no and just force the hand of Green Bay saying, all right, welcome back, and You get everything paid, or they'd straight up release him. From a playing standpoint, I think if Jaire's back and he's with Green Bay, just from straight up looking at it from the team, I think that's a huge win in terms of the depth at that cornerback spot, and it answers some questions. Now, I understand that, well, there'll still be questions remaining about his health and that. I get that. I understand that. But when we look at it on paper, right now in the offseason, adding Jaire back to that depth chart alleviates some of the concern, a lot of the concern, when it comes to the cornerback depth. And I think he would be welcomed from his teammates back with open arms. I mean, we heard what Jordan Love had to say a couple weeks ago about Jaire Alexander. So I think that's a big nugget from Rob that, hey, maybe he actually could. Maybe they're actually talking this through, and maybe he could return. Now, I feel like it might be just for one more year, because then it might be a little bit easier to move on from Jaire, from just a straight-up release standpoint. But I think this would be a huge boost to this team. And then you look at the roster, and then you ask the question, where is the weakness? Maybe still a little corner, because you want to add some protection with Jaire in case he's hurt again. Protection in terms of an outside corner and that. But it would solve, or it would answer a lot of questions when it comes to that position group. It's definitely intriguing to follow. I think a lot of it might have been due to the fact that the Packers have in mind a price that they want for Jaire. They're not getting that price, so they're looking at all avenues. I mean, if they're willing to go to the table and try to reconcile this thing, it's probably because a big part of it is that Green Bay is not getting what they're asking for. And they probably view it as he's more of a benefit to us right now playing than it is to just ship him off for a 7th-round pick or straight up releasing. It's fascinating and kind of curious to see how Goody and the Packers are going to manage this. And this comes yesterday, official too. It was reported a couple days ago, or a couple weeks ago, that the Packers had brought in linebacker Isaiah Simmons for a workout, former 1st-round pick. Now, he's kind of listed as a linebacker, safety, did a little bit of that with the Giants, but the Packers list him as a linebacker. And this is kind of a Swiss Army knife type of player. Simmons, 6'4", about 238 pounds. He joins a group of players that the Packers have accumulated in the last year plus, where I would kind of term them as Swiss Army knife type players, because they can maybe do a couple different things, whether it's like Isaiah Simmons, who is a linebacker, safety, hybrid type of player. But then you look at Javon Bullard, who they drafted last year, safety, slot, nickel, corner type of player. I would even throw rookie Colin Oliver into that. He's between a linebacker and a defensive end in terms of his weight, in terms of his size. But he's a pretty darn good pass rusher. Offense, it's Jade Reed's, and then I'd throw in rookie Savion Williams into that. So they've got an interesting group of players where I'd kind of term them as those Swiss Army or jack of all trades type of players. Bringing in, it's kind of like the college depth charts of just athlete. Now it's up to LaFleur and Jeff Hafley and the other coaches, the position coaches, to put these players in a position to succeed, to put Isaiah Simmons in a position to positively affect this team. Maybe it's special teams. He's a really good special teams player. But if he's on the field, are there certain packages for him? What is he doing on the defensive side? Same for Colin Oliver. Great pass rusher. But is he going to be a 3-down player? Probably not. You're probably going to have him in on 3rd downs or obvious passing situations. But it's interesting that they're bringing in like these few different players that could do different things, bringing in these quote-unquote athletes. I'm not having a lot of high expectations for Isaiah Simmons. It's not even a guarantee he's going to make the ball club. And I know we get caught up on, former first rounder. He was available at the end of April for a reason. The fact that he was still available at the end of April for it there's a reason. If he was playing still at the level of a first round pick, he'd have a contract by now, an extension, probably making a good chunk of money. But could the Packers get a reclamation project out of him? Can Jeff Hafley find a role for him within this defense? Whether it is kind of that hybrid linebacker safety type of role, a blitzing linebacker. I think we all just want some athletes. We want some dudes on the field that can play football. It's just goes back to making sure that you're putting players in a position to succeed, not only for themselves, because if they're succeeding for themselves, they're probably succeeding for the team overall. And having that open mind, because there's too many coaches, and we've seen it over the years for all these teams, even for the Packers, whether it's an ego thing. Like, okay, you're going to do this. We're making you do this. You're playing this particular spot, or you're playing this. This is going to be your role. But if that's not what they do well, or they do something better, if they're better suited for a different role, why wouldn't you want them to do that? Because it may help them better. And in turn, if they're going to play better in that role, it would help your team out. So I look at, okay, now you're bringing him aboard. It's up to the coaching staff and up to Jeff Hafley and his defensive staff to put a guy like Isaiah Simmons. How do we get the most out of him? How do we get his best football out of him? All right, we got a couple minutes to the top of the hour. We'll talk some Brewers baseball coming up next hour. Brewers picking up a win yesterday, game 1 of their 3-game series against the White Sox. Freddie Peralta picking up his 3rd win. Tobias Myers is going to be on the mound tonight for the Brewers, looking to clinch at least a series win. So we'll talk about last night's game and look ahead to tonight's game. Brewers currently sitting at 500. Still 3 games back from the Chicago Cubs, 1.5 back from the Cincinnati Reds. We'll get back to your comments about the Bucks. If you had a say in the Bucks offseason, what would you say? All right, what would you say? So, all right, let's finish off with Morgan, at least another voice to help.
Oh, struggle is real, huh? That's
is.
what happens when you go to the second most viewed NFL draft ever.
Yeah.
You can't talk for a week.
It's a struggle.
So all over to do again, no question.
I would probably go more for fun.
The party and not the work.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're going to talk about bucket list sports activities. So fresh off the draft, you can check that one off your list, which not many people can say. So congrats. So of the biggies here, are these bucket list items for you as a sports fan?
Okay.
Okay. The World Cup.
That'd be cool, but it wouldn't be high on my list.
Oh, Super Bowl.
Yeah.
No matter who's playing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Summer Olympics.
Nah.
So what about something timely like the New York City Marathon? We just had our Eau Claire Marathon last year. When I lived in Boston for college, we would always, go to the finish line, big party for the Boston Marathon wrapping up. And you can always, of course, volunteer to clean up because that many people leave a pretty big mess at the finish line, puking otherwise. But would you do like the New York Marathon, like one of the biggies?
No.
Why not?
I don't know. I'm not. It's just I'm not into it.
Baseball World Series?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Winter Olympics?
No.
How about Wimbledon?
Like the final or the whole tournament?
Let's go final.
Final? Yeah, it'd be higher than the marathons.
Okay, so more tennis than runners. Yeah. What about the Stanley Cup hockey?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, you'd do that for sure?
Yep.
Tour de France?
No.
No desire to watch bike racing?
No.
Okay, what about like a team mashup that would be iconic, a bucket lister like a Cubs game at Wrigley?
Oh, yeah, I'm trying to think of what would be the one, though.
I can tell you from experience, Red Sox Yankees is pretty fun.
Oh, yeah, that would be a good one.
Yep.
One on there that I don't know if it's on there yet, but it's number 1 for me that you haven't said yet.
Oh, it's not on here then. What is it?
The Masters.
Oh, golf. So you would put golf over the Super Bowl?
To go to Augusta National, probably, yeah.
Okay, so then rank you have the NFL draft on there. What are your next 3 bucket listers? Masters?
Masters, I'd throw Super Bowl. I've been to the Final Four. I'd throw a World Series in there. College football national championship.
Okay. Now, what would be something that you wouldn't even take free tickets to as a as a sports guy? If somebody tried to unload tickets to you to a sport event, you'd be like, you know what? I'm going to sit this out.
Probably like Tour de France or something. Something like that.
That you have no interest in,
No.
not even as a
I might
sport.
just take them just to go to France.
Yeah. So for a free
that'd be about it.
vacation, more
Yeah.
so than the sporting event.
Exactly. So,
But next time, lesson learned. When you go to the next NFL draft, it's all party, no work.
exactly.
Okay,
KYY
get that
Eau
voice
Claire,
back, buddy.
W286CK Eau Claire. Sports Talk 105.1 and 790 AM. From the 715 Newsroom, it's your news done differently with Morgan McCarthy.
Well, good morning. Here's what we're learning today. Touching down in the middle of our week, we have an update from Mother Nature. And earlier this week, when we now have confirmation of 4 tornadoes that touched down in Eau Claire County. The National Weather Service confirmed 4 tornadoes touched down in Eau Claire County and were EF1 tornadoes. They're now out looking at damage in certain areas that were hit. You can find some full details online, 715newsroom.com. Keeping those headlines local, the body of a Chippewa Falls woman missing for 9 years has been found. You may have seen this on socials. Not a lot of details on how or where she was found, but she did leave her home in June of 2016 and was last seen the next day running from her vehicle on a road in St. Cloud, Minnesota. Property owner in that area finding remains confirmed to be hers, as both St. Cloud and Chippewa Falls police say they'll have more updates in the coming days. A deadly motorcycle crash remains under investigation and claimed the life of a 55-year-old Dunn County man. This happened yesterday on 420th Street. First responders arrived and found that there was a man laying in the roadway. He was flown to a hospital where he did later die. Initial reports say he swerved to get out of the way of hitting a deer and lost control. Full details you can find at 715newsroom.com. On the state scene, it's in the books, but there were a lot of eyes on Green Bay. Second most watched draft ever is the early call, with the average audience being 7.5 million viewers watching the draft held in Titletown in our state, making it the second most watched NFL draft ever, only behind the 2020 draft. Now, what do you think? Raisins in a cookie? Mean trick. They look too much like chocolate chips. Can you make an exception today?
We'll start with a cookie that is always in the top 5 of favorite cookies, according to Cravery. Packed with vitamins and antioxidants, and 77% of us like it without raisins. But put a raisin in that cookie, and that number drops to about 23% for likability. A Reddit poll shows most people believe raisins are okay, but not great, but also not the enemy, unless it's in your oatmeal cookie. I'm Bree Tennis.
I mean, where do we start? We can dig into the numbers here for Kasper. Turns out when it comes to Packers knowledge, he ranked really high. People into that. I think the survey brought back like 75% of people think he knows what he's talking about.
And that number drops to about 23% for likability.
We put out a poll question about his attitude. Overwhelmingly, the response,
okay, but not great.
And they did ask. Kasper said, ask about Morgan picking on me. People said, sure, it might be a little mean on occasion,
but also not the enemy.
Hey, for Sports Talk 105.1. I'm Morgan McCarthy.
I want to grab that heavier coat this morning as clear skies and light winds have allowed temperatures to cool off in the 30s. Thankfully, as we get behind high pressure today, those southerly winds will return, therefore highs topping out in the mid to upper 60s. That will be accompanied by mostly to partly sunny skies before thicker cloud cover arrives tonight. We'll have a chance of showers, lows in the upper 40s, a few more showers possible tomorrow. On 13 First Alert, meteorologist Derek Dahlman.
Leaky or storm-damaged roof? Call the experts. Locally and family-owned, your trusted partner for superior roofing and siding solutions, TF Exteriors. They specialize in standing seam metal roofing and seamless rain gutters, which are manufactured on-site or in their shop, so you get no middleman, which means it costs less for you. TF Exteriors will exceed your expectations and create your ideal project with professionalism, quality workmanship, and great customer service. Call 715-864-3876 or go to tfexteriors.com.
Rapid radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage. For a limited time, go to rapidradios.com now for 60% off and free UPS shipping. Add code radio and get an extra 5% off.
Ladies and gentlemen, sports aficionados and armchair quarterbacks, welcome to the Dan Kasper Show. where sports passion meets expert analysis. Dan's encyclopedic knowledge and infectious passion for all things sports is both impressive and sad.
I have many leather-bound books.
So get ready to laugh, cheer, and maybe even facepalm a few times.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
It's the Dan Kasper Show.
Second hour kicking off on this Wednesday morning. Big thanks for making us a part of your starts if you're already up and at it. Coming up, we'll get back to some more Bucks chats with the Bucks season officially in the books. How would you approach this offseason for the Milwaukee Bucks? You can let us know by hitting us up with a text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line at 715-830-1912. We'll get back to some baseball talk as well with the Brewers set for Game 2 tonight against the White Sox after picking up a 7-2 victory last night. Tobias Myers will get his second start for this season. He'll be on the mound for the Brewers tonight, looking for his first win on the season as well. Brandon Woodruff sounds like he's getting closer and closer to returning for the Crew. He's got another rehab start coming up here as well. We've got he's going to make another minor league start with the Timber Rattlers today. So this is his fourth minor league start. He went 5 innings in his last rehab start. So inching closer in that 30-day. Those 30 days are set to expire here soon. So we could be seeing Brandon Woodruff back with the Brewers very soon. Aaron Savale was also scheduled to throw a live BP yesterday. And then Aaron Ashby is scheduled to throw 2 innings in Arizona. So maybe finally some reinforcements coming for the Brewers pitching staff. But definitely would be a big boost for this ball club to get Brandon Woodruff back into the rotation if that's where they kind of put him here. But last night, Freddie Peralta went 6 innings, giving up 3 hits, 2 earned runs, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts on 93 pitches. His 2 runs coming from solo shots in the first inning, and those were the only runs that the White Sox would go on to score. And thanks to 4 runs in the 6th inning for the Brewers to take back the lead because Isaac Collins got the solo shot in the first inning to grab the early lead. It was thanks to 4 runs in the 6th inning that propelled the Brewers to take back the lead and hold on to a couple of insurance runs in the 8th to top it off over there too. So Bucks are now in a position to get the series win, at least get a series win with a win tonight, and then hopefully going for a sweep tomorrow afternoon before they finally return home for a weekend series against the Chicago Cubs. 3 games against the Cubbies. After that, it'll be 3 games against the Astros. Then they're on the road again for 3 games against Tampa Bay and 3 games against the Guardians of Cleveland. Brewers currently sitting at 15-15 on the season. 1.5 back from the Reds, who are in second place. 3 full games back from the Cubs, who are sitting there in first place in the division. So, Bucks wise, got a couple people saying, I'd hate to say it, but time to trade Giannis. A couple more saying, don't trade Giannis. Try it back for 1 more year. Keep those opinions coming and keep them coming through that texting line 715-830-1912. All right, we got stock reports, stock risers, stock fallers. You can send those on over to whose stock is rising and whose stock is falling. Text it to us or comment on the video streams if you care, if you want to. So, morning, Luke. You're on 3 instead of 2. So, good morning, Luke.
Good morning, Dan.
How are you?
I'm okay. How's your voice?
Well, you could tell.
It's not great.
No, it's not.
Is this the post-draft sickness? Is there something else going around? Which I think there is something else legit going around.
I knew I was going to get sick after the draft. I didn't think I was going to be this sick, though. Yeah. So the fact that I missed a day probably should tell you a lot.
That's a pretty good sign right there.
Yeah. Probably, 1 or 2 hours of sleep on average. So
brutal.
Yep. But worth it.
Yep.
It was worth it. So it was worth it. Setting records, setting viewership records, setting, tying for attendance records for second most with Nashville. Easily surpassed many expectations.
Trying to game out, you were saying in your pod about like it's going to be a while before it gets back, and so I started to think like, okay, who does this have? Which cities will get it first? I don't know that necessarily every non-Super Bowl contending city will get it. There will be a handful that won't apply. They just won't for whatever reason. I have a sneaking suspicion that the NFL will just kind of not go to Jacksonville after the Super Bowl experience. That's just not a good place, period. And why Jacksonville? I mean, you can make a case it's going to be 20, 25 years if you literally want to rotate through everything that's not a regular site. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's more like 15-ish years. Like, does this become sort of like Indianapolis tends to get more Final Fours, which I know there's an NCAA Indy historic connection. But if the NFL at some point goes, there are a few places that tend to do better, and Green Bay is one of them. Or
could they do it regionally?
Yeah, something like
a rotation.
That maybe. I could see something like that happening. We'll figure out certain places that maybe don't get the draft as much. Maybe it also evolves too. Like maybe the draft starts to settle. I know it seems like, well, why would the draft not be as big of a deal? Well, you don't know. Cultural things do change. And you go, well, you want to have it in the places where you know it's going to work really well. Green Bay, it works. It always will, no matter what. It will work. So I'm a little more, I'm hopeful it comes back. It's just, I think for football, it's good to be in a spot like that with the history of it. I'm glad people showed up. As much as I'm not a Packers fan, I am so glad that this was a statement back towards Detroit, to that guy in Detroit.
Well, I mean, you still have Detroit saying, we got more people, 750,000. So it's like, okay, but
cool, you're Detroit.
You're Detroit. So it's Detroit versus Green Bay. Yeah. Come on now. Let's use some common sense here.
Scoreboard. Yeah, well, whatever. That was cool.
Go ahead and put up a banner in your stadium for that if you want. So put it next to your other stuff. Made the playoffs in whatever year instead. Have fun with that one.
But this, I mean, I suppose you, and I don't know if you said this at some point, but there's credit to Mark Murphy for building.
Mark Murphy, 100% deserves the majority of the credit.
The infrastructure that's been built up. That helped a lot.
It's not a bad way to go out for Mark Murphy. Retiring in a couple months, mandatory retirement in a couple months.
What impressed you the most about I guess we'll say the logistics of the Green Bay draft?
I think just that they were able to handle that many people. I mean, it was a little confusing to walk around and try to figure in for certain people how to get in because there's only like 2 of them. So, like, for example, we were over by Resch Center because that's where the media access is. But if you wanted to go in, so like they had the fence up. So Resch, the Don Hudson Center is right there. You have that road, but they had the fence up before. If I wanted to say meet somebody, I could see through the fence right there. I had to walk all the way around and I get it. You have to direct the flow somehow, right? You have to direct the flow somehow. So
yeah,
that was, I mean, we put on some miles for sure, but that was like, but I understand it. I totally understand it. Just trying to get the flow through everything. And I've said it numerous times. It's easy. It was easier to get out of there than it was for a game driving wise.
Wow.
I don't know if it's just because maybe there wasn't as many drivers because they took advantage of the shuttles, which good for you guys. That well played. But it was way easier to get out than it would be for a game day. And maybe it was more spread out too.
Yeah.
With that.
Yeah. And it's not like there's a 3-hour game and everything goes before and after, but when it's done, people leave. So there's going to be an en masse sort of thing. And I know big difference between 80,000 and in a given day, 225,000, but there's still going to be a day crescendo as the day goes along. They're also drifting in and out to a certain degree. So that eases it some. Cool. I'm glad it all worked out.
Yeah. Definitely a lot of fun. No question about it. So, yeah. Suck it. I'll be doing that quite a bit, shutting the mic off and trying to clear the throat.
Nice.
So, yeah,
Very
right.
good.
Bucks-wise, I know you've been saying it for a while, but, now we're getting into an offseason with a lot of question marks and a lot of uncertainty. Do they start the rebuild this offseason, which includes trading Giannis?
It's a heck of a rebuild, but that might be part of it.
I think the biggest wrench thrown in this is that Dame's probably not playing next year.
Yeah.
With his Achilles, he's probably out.
That's the thing that cued all of this.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the number one talking point nationally about the Bucks right after that happened. And I might have been Russillo or someone on one of the pods, like one of the first, literally the first thing you think when you hear that news, maybe even see it in the game is, oh, so this is it for Giannis in Milwaukee. And it's not a hot take like, ooh, let's kick in the Photoshops and all the trade machine things, just typical NBA hypothetical. I don't want to say drama, but it's the stuff that doesn't actually matter because most of it won't come to fruition. Legitimately speaking, you go, all right, now I don't see the path. You could see the path. Maybe it was an obscured path, but there is still a path with Dame Lillard on the Bucks.
Mm-hmm.
Then you start confronting the draft pick situation. It's not good if they keep going as is. You're kind of relying on Giannis Antetokounmpo being even better and carrying the team, not single-handedly, but mostly single-handedly. That's your best bet to win another championship. Also, no, I'll save this for stock reports, and I think it's pretty clear where we're going with one of these stock reports. So I'll save this next part for that. But all in all, I'm kind of leaning back towards my theory from a few months ago. Do it now while you can get the value.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta. Sure, maybe your long-term future is turning into a version of the Wizards and the Magic, I guess, in terms of relevance. But what's the other option? A lesser Wizards? You don't want that. Right. So maybe the time has come to do that. Kind of sucks, but
what if Giannis though says he doesn't want to get traded and he wants to stay?
Well, we got a dilemma. Because what's most important to the team? The team or one player?
Well, that one player is Giannis.
Yeah, I know.
That sells a lot of tickets and a lot of jerseys. And because let's be real, you move on from Giannis, you're not going to be selling out of the Pfizer Forum anytime soon.
No. And you don't have the glow of a new arena anymore. There's not much more you can pull on that. You can't demand another new arena. It's tough. You might have. I don't know how you could gut everything else on the team and keep Giannis. I think he'd be more inclined to understand the situation and then want to go, given that there sure seems to be enough indications, I guess the whole where there's smoke, there's fire. There's actual heat coming from that smoke of Giannis implying he wants to go in another direction. From what we've heard of NBA analysts and insiders, I think there's something more there. I think he would like to stay in a perfect situation, but I think he also understands that the situation isn't quite right. He still would want to go. He's not just going to jump to LA because it's LA. He's not going to just jump to Miami because it's warmer no matter what. A lot of NBA players will do that because it's totally self-oriented. I want to say self-centered, but it's self-oriented. Giannis isn't that way, but I think Giannis also would go, well, what are we going to do here? We're just going to play out the rest of the career and do a lot of first-round exits and maybe get lucky and get a second-round exit? Because that might be the ceiling going forward, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
Not that the post-Giannis future is dramatically brighter, but I think if you're thinking really long-term, that might be the best way to maintain something and not fall down to being a 15-win team. By the way, wow, what was your take on John Horst getting re-signed?
Yeah, I was surprised.
Yeah?
I was really surprised when Brandon told me that last week. So obviously they trust him to go into this major offseason, which I don't know if I would, to be honest with you.
Was it Mark Lasry? Was he the one that wanted Horst in the whole drama thing?
I think it was because, he wasn't when he was first hired, because I think he was director of basketball operations or something like that, because they had like a GM in waiting.
Mm-hmm.
and they bypassed him. And with this, it was like, oh boy, But I give credit to Horst for being aggressive for a lot of moves, right?
Yeah.
I mean, can we say the Bucks don't win a championship without John Horst making moves?
Right.
I think it's fair
Yeah.
to say that.
It's weird. He's in one of those. It happens across sports, but a general manager who makes some questionable moves, but makes just enough really good ones. And I know he didn't draft Giannis, fine, but he made enough other moves that kept the team competitive that they won their title, and they've been one of the better teams overall. Yeah, the floor is high because of Giannis, but otherwise it's still there because, John Horst made a lot of those decisions. Did he put a cap on the team? Arguably so, too. But he also, that Damian Lillard trade is looking worse. Now, okay, you couldn't have known that Damian Lillard was about to have an Achilles days after the extension. And I don't know if we should go so far as to say if they had waited one more week, would Bucks executives have gone, whoa, gosh, now that trade looks really bad for us. We're not going to we're actually going to maybe get rid of you. I don't think it's that binary. They must like what they see from him overall. And I guess there's a certain element where we kind of have to trust what they're seeing because they see more than we do. So I guess, but I too had that reaction of, oh, okay, well, he's sticking around, I guess. Cool. I don't see Doc Rivers sticking around.
I was going to say, Doc's got to go, whether there's 4 scenarios at play. Either he just straight up retires, they reassign him to the good old advisory role, which we've seen how many coaches or GMs get. I think Doug Melvin still is an advisor for the Brewers, for crying out loud. Gets fired, or, I guess those are only the ones, retires, gets fired, or gets reassigned, right?
Yeah.
Those are the ones at play here. Or they keep him. That's 4. So I feel like he's got to be gone. But then it brings into question retread, first timer. But then I think to determine that is, what's your roster going to look like?
We don't know.
If you're going through a full rebuild, you might want to go with the first timer then, right? Or maybe it's just simply promoting Darvin Ham and putting him in that crappy situation.
Yeah, which maybe he'll do fine with that. There's part of me that wants to give it a go. All right, we keep hearing about Darvin Ham. All right, let's bring in Darvin Ham. If he has that much potential as a coach, why wait any longer? Why experiment with a new guy? Okay, not every experiment with a new guy is going to go as poorly as Adrian Griffin. A lot of them actually do work out. I'd go Ham. That might optimize your situation over anyone else unless someone suddenly becomes available that's really talked about a lot, and I don't know who that is right now. But that would be my approach. I think Rivers steps aside. I think he reads the writing on the wall.
I think that's where it's going to go too. I feel like he's going to step aside, and I would be surprised if he just gets this weird title, like advisor to the team, even though he won't be doing anything.
Yeah,
might get a little broom closet office and stuff like that. But I can't see him. I'd be shocked if he comes back again.
Yeah, I agree. Just reset the whole thing there. I think that's a very.
So if Dave was healthy, do you think I would feel more confident if Dave was healthy and everything else played the same, they would try to run it back one more year with Dave and Giannis?
That was always the sense that I had. Is this the flood of what Carlos Boozer called it, with the long offseason coming? The flood happened immediately post Dame. You would have heard some speculation in there, like, "Hey, watch out, what could happen? Maybe Giannis," but that was going to bubble up anyway. I think we'd all accounted for that coming.
Yep.
So yeah, I think they would have just tried to work around the edges, maybe get back a second round pick here or there, with the lack of control on all of the first round draft picks, so that at least they know what they can control, knowing that they weren't going to be able to make a really big trade to get a really good first round draft pick in there. I think they were going to redo it again. And I wouldn't be surprised if Doc Rivers would come back. Now, okay, all of this being said, wouldn't be surprised if Doc Rivers is back next season anyway. Like, it makes sense that Rivers is done.
Yeah.
For a lot of reasons. That doesn't mean it's going to happen either. But I think you would have had a much more similar Bucks 2025, 26 roster as the 2024-25 roster. Is the Kuzma thing, is it still too early to assess?
Maybe. I don't know. It's that's a tough one too. Like, could you get more out of him if you have a different coach that comes in too?
Right.
You know, like I'm sure this is going to get talked a lot about, but maybe Gary Trent Jr. should have been getting a lot more playing time and more minutes from what we saw during this playoff run and such towards the end of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And then you look at, okay, whose fault was that? Well, you go to the coach who makes the starting lineup.
Right.
And you kind of wonder, does he have the pulse of the team and what's best for the team at this point?
Mm-hmm.
You got Gary Trent Jr. for crying out loud, dropping 30 points multiple times now. It's like, where was that earlier? Oh, he barely played at times. It's like, I don't get it.
Right.
So, definitely going to be a long and weird offseason.
Yeah.
But really quick, if you could describe this Bucs season in one word, what would it be? Because you think about it, you go back. It doesn't seem like it was that long ago. They win their first game, but then they lose their next 9, 8, 9, 10 in a row or something like that.
Yeah.
Then the Dame issue, Chris Middleton gets traded. Like, it was all over the board. Weird, annoying, inconsistent.
Lacking would be
that'd be a good one too.
One that's probably there's a better word out there, but that's the first one that comes to mind where you're like, they don't have enough to get towards the top. Where in other years, they either were the best in the conference, sometimes the league, or in the ballpark of it where you knew, okay, if they win like a few games here, they're the 1 seed.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I mean, I know part of that's how how well Cleveland was playing this year, but I don't think there was really any point, short of maybe like a game or two where you looked at the standings and you went, maybe early on, where you thought they had potential to be a 1 or a 2 seed. That, now that I'm thinking about it, there might have been maybe even a week or two that you thought that, but not consistently like this team could be one of the best. You knew they were like a mid-range team at best and maybe could have fallen even. Well, thankfully, the post 6 were pretty clearly bad after a while. So you knew they weren't going to be that bad.
Mm-hmm.
But there was definitely a ceiling on this team
Mm-hmm.
that we're not used to seeing with the Bucks.
Yeah. All right, we got to take a quick break. Continue to send us your Bucks chat, though. Hit us up with a text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
You're listening to the Dan Kasper Show.
Thanks for calling Discover. This is Nia.
Hi, Nia. It's Jennifer. Did you know that Discover automatically doubles all the cash back you've earned at the end of your first year?
Yeah, I work here.
Okay. I was just double checking. Get it?
Because Discover automatically doubles all the cash back you've earned at the end of your first year?
Oh, you get me, Nia.
Well, you could say that I double get you.
I guess we've taken it too far.
You earn, we match. Discover Cashback Match. See terms at discover.com/creditcard.
When it comes to one-stop shopping, there's truly only one store in the Chippewa Valley that could carry that title, and that's Hy-Vee in Eau Claire. From grocery shopping and picking up some new team apparel in their sports shop, to grabbing a beverage at the bar or picking up something from their massive wine and spirits department, Hy-Vee has something for everyone. And if you want someone else to cook for the night, they got you covered with many different options from their food court. Then when you head out, don't forget to fill up your gas tank with the fuel savers you earned by shopping at Hy-Vee. So the next time you go shopping, shop smart. Shop Hy-Vee in Eau Claire. Spring is here, which means one thing: turkey hunting season. So you've got your tags, you know the dates you're heading out to the woods, but what's missing? That new turkey shotgun and some extra shells. It's time to hit up Tilden Gun. Locally owned and operated, Tilden Gun has the best selection of firearms in the area and all at the best prices in the area. Their expert staff will help you find the hunting firearm that you want and that fits your price range. And if you're not a turkey hunter, but you're in the market for a new deer rifle, or you want to check out their wall of handguns, they will help you find just what you're looking for. And if you have a little left over from your tax return this season, purchase something for yourself this year. You deserve it. So give them a visit today at tildengun.com or check out their shop located at 12427 98th Avenue in Chippewa Falls. Now the only thing left on your to-do list this turkey season is working on your calling skills. So get to practicing. On behalf of Tilden Gun, best of luck and be safe in the great outdoors this season.
When you're in the business of building the future, why rely on yesterday's internet technology? 100% fiber internet from TDS is engineered to handle industrial strength demands with turbocharged symmetrical speeds and 99.9% network reliability. Get internet that keeps your business light years ahead. Upgrade to cable-crushing TDS fiber internet. Strong enough for your business, strong enough for you. Learn more at tdsbusiness.com. Internet speeds are up to and not guaranteed. Subject to availability. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Okay, who's ready to fish? Fleet Farm's all stocked and ready to go with the hottest brands to help you gear up for the season. Like the latest lines and lures from Berkeley, Fluger rods and reels, Northland tackle, bobbers, and bait, all sorts of Senko worms, the best in fish finders from Humminbird, Lowrance, and Garmin, St. Croix rods, new releases from Abu Garcia, and more. Stop in and check out the latest fishing gear from all your favorite brands at the best prices guaranteed at Fleet Farm.
Warmer weather means more time on your feet. Make sure every step feels great. Whether it's running, walking, or working, proper support matters. The Shoe Doctor carries a wide selection of supportive shoes, custom insoles, and footwear solutions designed for comfort and performance. Stop in to find the right fit for spring and summer activities. The Shoe Doctor, helping feet feel their best season after season. Visit the Shoe Doctor today at 2321 East Claremont Avenue or online at shoedoctoreauclair.com, where comfort starts.
Broadcasting live from the TDS Sports Talk 105.1 studios, it's the Dan Kasper Show.
When you add spring and baseball together, what do you get? That's simple. It's brats. Fire up those grills for some tailgate parties or some backyard barbecues this spring with some brats from Mike's Star Market. Whether it's the Bloody Mary or beer brats, Mike's Star Market has so many different options of brats for you to choose from that you will be the talk of your tailgate party or neighborhood cookout. Celebrate the beginning of spring. Well, I guess we are in a little bit of spring and baseball season by making a stop at Mike's Star Market, located on the west side of Eau Claire. We'll get back some more Bucks chat. We got a few texts rolling in about the Bucks, so we'll get back to that. We'll get back some Brewers talk. Don't forget to send in your stock reports. Whose stock is rising? Whose stock is falling? We'll spend a few minutes talking a little green and golds with Joe this morning. So first off, Joe, how do you think? Excuse me. How do you think the Packers, not without grading draft because we don't believe in grades after a draft, but how well do you think Green Bay did, or what impressed you the most, or maybe disappointed you the most with their picks?
You know what? I was impressed with the draft, and I liked the draft, and I'll tell you, Captain, what it said to me is that the powers that be at 1265 thought that the spiraling down at the end of the season for Green Bay and their struggles that they had at times last year were more about the offense. And it really tells me what he feels Jeff Hafley can do with players and coaching them up on the defense. And so you look at those first three picks, and obviously Matthew Golden, and I thought Mark Murphy did an absolutely beautiful job with that. And Matthew Golden, 5'11", 190 pounds, he just hits the breakoff point from height-wise for Green Bay receivers, but it's that speed. It's that 4.29 speed. And I think when Christian Watson was in and out of the lineup last year, regardless of how many catches he has, he is able to take the top off that defense. He is able to make teams pay and open things up for other receivers. So I think Matthew Golden steps in right away, and I I think you're going to see him getting early reps very early on. And so then you look at Anthony Belton, and I think, Green Bay is becoming a downhill football team. And you and I have talked about this, and we tried to talk about it a little last week, except for my cell coverage was bad. But, Green Bay last year transitioned from primarily an outside zone running team to a duo team. And I think they're a downhill football team right now. And I think with Josh Jacobs, that says a lot. And then you go back to Savion Williams, who's a gadget guy, and he's a guy that you could play wildcat with, and you can put him in the running back, and you can create these bubble screens and the jet sweeps and those types of things. So, we as fans thought, oh, they've got to go get an edge rusher, and they've got to do this, and they've got to do this from a defensive perspective. But it really told me that the Packers felt that they were okay defensively, and they were in a position last year defensively, and Jeff Hafley being that improvement and improvement from the positional coaches and that type of thing. I think Green Bay looked at it and said, no, our problems were more offensively. And I think they addressed that, obviously, in the first few picks. And so, the other thing it told me, Captain, and again, I really liked this draft. I liked the way the board came out, and I think Goody stuck to his board. The other thing it told me is, where are the priorities moving forward? Because when you look at the Packers the Packers cap in 2026, Ken Ingalls, who does an amazing job with the draft and with the cap, they're about $35 million over the projected cap for next year already. And that takes into consideration Quay Walker and Devontae Wyatt both getting some type of a fifth-year option. It's either a fifth-year option or some type of an extension. And obviously that deadline is tomorrow, so we're going to know pretty quickly on that. So it said, okay, you're going to focus on Zach Tom, Rasheed Walker, probably not going to be a part of things. Romeo Dobbs, probably not going to be a part of things. Maybe Sean Ryan, probably not going to be a part of things moving forward. So I really thought Green Bay did a nice job of staying true to their board, getting more athletic, and getting bigger on the offensive line.
What are your thoughts on Rob Domofsky's report yesterday that maybe there's a reconciliation process involving Jaire Alexander?
You know what? I loved it. Because right now, when you look at the depth chart, it's pretty thin at that cornerback position. And again, I love it. And I think what happens there, if they can get it done, I truly think that if they can get something done, I think they're going to do a restructure and maybe give Jaire a restructured contract, and then with an opportunity to earn some of that back with playing time incentives. Look, I don't think Jaire Alexander is on this team in 2026. His cap hit in 2026 is $27 million. I think the best solution for these two sides is to come up with a deal that A, can incentivize him this year, B, give him some guaranteed dollars this year, and C, let him test free agency next year. So, Domofsky is one of the guys who I trust implicitly. When he reports something like that, there's usually smoke and fire. And so I think that would be huge for this team. And again, if you cut Jaire Alexander, you're only saving yourself $6 million on the cap. And right now, Green Bay's in great shape this year. So they don't need to make that move. So I would love to see Jaire on it. And again, there are certain reporters I trust. There are certain reporters where I know that if they're reporting it, there's some legitimacy to it. And I think Rob is one of the better ones out there. So, yeah, that would be huge for this football team.
Isaiah Simmons officially signing a contract yesterday, too, for the Packers, hybrid linebacker, safety. How do you view him as a fit within this defense?
You know what? You're getting a guy. You're getting a guy who was a top 10 pick. And when you look at 6'4", 238, and just a guy that is an athlete, can you put him in some certain positions to say it? I think, what was he, the 8th overall pick in 2020? And so you put him in a position where maybe he's a situational pass rusher. Maybe he comes in as part of a nickel dime type of package. The thing that I like about Isaiah Simmons, besides the athleticism, is he has made himself to be a special teams player now as well. And that was when he was drafted, he was not special teams for Arizona. He obviously played in their defense, and they started and they threw him in here. He became more of a special teams guy when he was with the Giants. And so I really like that signing. That's one of those where it's a no-brainer. It's a no-risk, high possible return type of transaction. And you know what? Goody has made these over the years. And again, you look at Rasul Douglas and you look at Campbell, and I know Campbell kind of flaked out at the end, but boy, he played well that first year. And I think these are the types of things where you tip your hat to Milt Hendrickson and the rest of that pro scouting department, because you're looking at guys and you're saying, hey, let's take a chance on this guy. Let's take a chance on this guy. I love the signing. You know, again, it'll be fun seeing if they've got a package out there with Simmons, Quay Walker, and Edge Cooper. You're the cup overfloweth with athleticism from the linebacker position. And again, they've got to be in the right position, et cetera, et cetera. But I see Isaiah Simmons having packages built specifically for him.
To play devil's advocate, though, a little bit, I mean, he's also a free agent for a reason, you know, at this late in the process. And for every good one, there's always a Sammy Watkins or an Andre Dillard, too, though, right?
No doubt. No doubt. Look, that's why I say, it's a low risk, and I haven't seen the details on the contract yet, but I'm going to make assumptions that they could cut him. If he doesn't make the final 53, they could cut him without losing too much. And so, yeah, I agree. There's always that downside, but the beauty of a move like that is the downside is minimal. You know, if you catch lightning in a bottle with something like that, and you can put them in some packages and some things like that. Look, I mean, you know, I'm not saying that Simmons is going to be the next Zach Vaughn, but look at what Zach Vaughn did with a change of scenery. Look at what Zach Vaughn did with better coaching. And so, again, I'm not saying this at all, but sometimes that change of scenery puts a guy in a better position.
So looking ahead now to the rest of this, I guess, offseason and such, after the draft, what are the groups, the position groups that you still have questions about, or now you have questions about?
You know, it's obviously the biggest one out there is going to be that cornerback position. And you know, there are some free agents out there, but if you get some type of confirmation, if you get some type of an agreement with Jaire Alexander, then I'm not as worried about that position. And so then it becomes, okay, where else can you start looking at it? And it's not really questions at that point. It's where are guys going to fit and where are the competitive spots? Look, that left tackle position, I think, is going to be very, very, very competitive. I think that end position in this 4-3 defense is going to be very, very competitive. And so cornerback right now is a big question mark because of Jaire Alexander's situation. And so if that gets rectified and if he is on this football team for 2025, now you're saying, okay, now we've got some pieces to move around. Now we've got some flexibility. Now we have some depth. And really, when Jaire Alexander is playing well, you have a number one cornerback. And so that's the question mark. It's going to be interesting, Captain, as we start working through this offseason, though, where the competitive spots are. You know, that, and like I said, that left tackle position is going to be something. I think it's going to be interesting to watch that. That wide receiver position. Can Matthew Golden, you know, jump up into that top three, really, where most football teams and most NFL teams, that top three, those are your starters. Most teams, you're rolling out a guy to play the slot. You're rolling out two wide, probably one back, that type of thing. And so, yeah, it's going to be a competitive offseason. I think there's some positions up for grabs, and it's going to be interesting to see how fast some of these rookies can get up to speed. And so, yeah, again, overall, and I know you and I hate grades, I will tell you this, though. Getting back to the draft, I thought Green Bay, Wisconsin, I thought Mark Murphy, and I thought Dan Kasper live from the NFL draft all got A+ for me.
Nice. Well, before I let you go, who was your favorite, maybe late day 2 or day 3 pick for the Packers?
You know, you gotta love Darren Sorrell. I mean, you just gotta love that whole thing about him being there and the story and everything about it. But I'm, you know, I really like Warren Brinson and you know, the 6th round pick from Georgia, the defensive tackle. And I think this is a guy that I think is going to be that run stuffer, that guy that you can just plug and play, and you're not asking him to do a lot, but he can come in and make a difference. And so, yeah, I actually thought those 4th, 5th, and 6th round picks, Sorrell, Colin Oliver, and Warren Brinson, I thought they were all great value picks. But I think if you're really going to look at it, I think Sorrell was obviously, and that part was the story of him still being there. But I really like Warren Brinson. I think he immediately makes the two deep and makes this team a better run stuffing team. So yeah, and again, Micah Robinson, the 7th round pick, he's got some length on him. John Williams, the Cincinnati kid who played for Luke Fickell and when he was at Cincinnati, and so it's going to be interesting where some of these guys go. And again, I really liked where the draft fell, and I like the fact that Green Bay and Goody stuck to his board.
He's Joe DeGuano joining us here this morning. Appreciate the time as always, sir. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll catch up with you again next time, bud.
All right. And again, Captain, just a superb showing in Green Bay for you. I thought your draft coverage was outstanding. So kudos, my friend, and well-deserved with anything that comes out of that.
Appreciate that. That's very nice of you to say. So big thanks, man, and we'll catch up with you again soon, okay?
All right, Kevin. Take care, brother.
You got it. There you go. There's Joe DeGuano joining us here this morning. I know some people had some issues listening, but we're trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
I think it was more from the stream.
The stream seems to be an issue. The radio seems to be fine.
Right.
Seems to be fine anyway. So we're
Luke
checking on it.
literally ran down the office to turn on the radio.
I did. I actually went and found a working radio. You might be like, wait, in a radio station, a radio?
Was it transistor?
It was not a transistor radio. It was like, it's one of those, like, I got it back in the 90s, and it's one of those that had like the weather radio and other bands that probably aren't even used anymore. It's one of those really super fancy things. And in case you're like, well, you're actually questioning you have a radio and a radio station. That's one of the ironies of working in like this happens a lot, I think, in a lot of industries where the thing that you do, you may not actually have. And this is the case like 20, 25 years ago. I remember to be like, okay, let's see what this sounds like on the radio. You're like, where's a radio in this building? Like, well, because we don't need them. We got speakers in the studios. We don't need to have a radio. But no, listened, and yep, there it was. And we're sounding really good on the actual radio.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's take a quick break. Well, you maybe, not my voice. So, although how many times have I said I wanted a Sam Elliott impression? Right now might be my time to do it. So, all right, we'll take a quick break, and we'll wrap up the second hour after these quick words.
Got a take on today's topics but can't call in? Then hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, or the text line and let your fingers do the talking.
Buying a home can be complex and time sensitive. In fact, most people only do it 3 times. Michael O'Connell here from Franzen Bank and Trust in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. I help home buyers every day and pride myself on building personal relationships and providing timely and accurate service throughout the loan process. Visit or contact our Eau Claire office today and let me use my expertise to help you. Franzen Bank and Trust, real people, real results. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender. NMLS number 2607586.
Spring is here, which means one thing: turkey hunting season. So you've got your tags, you know the dates, you're heading out to the woods, but what's missing? That new turkey shotgun and some extra shells. It's time to hit up Tilden Gun. Locally owned and operated, Tilden Gun has the best selection of firearms in the area and all at the best prices in the area. Their expert staff will help you find the hunting firearm that you want and that fits your price range. And if you're not a turkey hunter, but you're in the market for a new deer rifle, or you want to check out their wall of handguns, they will help you find just what you're looking for. And if you have a little left over from your tax return this season, purchase something for yourself this year. You deserve it. So give them a visit today at tildengun.com or check out their shop located at 12427 98th Avenue in Chippewa Falls. Now the only thing left on your to-do list this turkey season is working on your calling skills. So get to practicing. On behalf of Tilden Gun, best of luck and be safe in the great outdoors this season.
Get ready to save half with half-off deals. A great way for you to get goods and services that you will love, and you don't have to pay full price. Start saving this Friday, May 2nd, with Infinity Beverage Winery and Distillery. Be ready with your credit or debit card and get ready to save with this week's half-off deals. For more details and to find out about all the savings, just go to aroundthe715.com.
I think it's time we have the talk.
30 minutes, that's all it takes. Well, at least to update your website. With Websticks, you can buy blocks of time and use them when and how you need. Let's say you own a restaurant. With just one block of time, Websticks can update a menu item or add a phone number. Whew, I'm glad we finally had this talk. Find out more at websticks.com. That's websticks with an X.com.
Stunning sights, more clicks, web support from Websticks.
Progressive knows if you have to choose between everyday life and your boat, boat wins.
What are you going to do? Take the boat out for a spin or go mail something?
Boat wins!
Are we cleaning the patio or taking the boat out fishing?
Boat wins!
Are we skipping that eye exam to go sailing?
Boat wins!
Rescheduling eye exams can be a nightmare.
All right, fine. Eye exam, then boat.
Yeah!
With Progressive, you can bundle your boat with your home or auto and save with a discount and spend more time enjoying those savings on your boat. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states and situations.
He's smart, informed, entertaining, and he knows his sports. In other words, he's the kind of guy I'd like to settle down with in a small, cozy cabin in the woods. That is, if he was a woman with a case of cold ones. The Dan Kasper Show, weekday mornings from 6 to 9.
About 9 minutes to the top of the hour. We got stock reports coming up just past 8 o'clock. So get your stock reports in. Whose stock is up, whose stock is down, rising, falling, all that good stuff. We'll get to our picks coming up in just a little bit for that. So Brewers wise, they're back at it tonight, taking on the Chicago White Sox. Tobias Myers is on the mound for his second start of the season. We have to give a tip of the cap, though, because I saw the replay early this morning, and I was just on MLB.com, and he's right on the front page.
Nice.
Making his first game back, Dalton Varsho.
Yeah, that play. What?
I mean, it was a fantastic catch. Didn't mean to do it that way.
Clearly not.
if you did see it, you could go take a look at it. But I mean, for crying out loud, he did win a Gold Glove for a reason last year. Goes back, playing center field, trips, falls, and somehow still catches the ball with his back towards the hitter, and just has the. I mean, it's a crazy catch. Don't do that at home, kids. Don't practice that at home. So I hope my kid doesn't see it and he starts doing that. But
be easy to tell if he is trying.
Yeah. So that's like Willie Mays Hayes style over there.
The thing is, I know if I were like 11 and I saw that, I'm going right to the north yard of my house down on the south side of Eau Claire, where I was when I was an 11-year-old, and I'm trying that, and I'm probably going to be like, ow.
Yeah,
I'm doing it.
He said afterwards, I just stuck my glove out and somehow it went in. It was probably a really high percent probability of a catch, and I made it look really hard. And yes, StatCast had it as a 95% catch probability. So he said, I said a profanity word, but then I was like, okay, where's the ball? So that could have been really, I would imagine, kind of embarrassing for a Gold Glove winner. But then to make that catch afterwards, nobody's talking about that anymore, besides an amazing catch.
Right.
So, but tip of the cap, and that was his first game back, I think.
Yeah.
Activating him coming up. So, Brewers wise, though, they're at 500 right now as they wrap up this very long road trip. We're a little over a month into the season now, but when we look at the first month of the season, is there a team, is there a player, or anything in general that is just kind of standing all across Major League Baseball that it's kind of jumped out to you, like first early impressions in the first month?
I would say I've been noticing a lot of Pete Crow Armstrong talk.
Yeah,
with the Cubbies.
PCA.
Yep. His general performance is really good. I mean, he's not solely driving that team, and they've got some discrepancies, shall we say.
Mm-hmm.
But Crow Armstrong's doing wonderful right now. He's batting the heck out of the ball.
How about there's only one team right now that has single-digit losses? Do you know that? Only one team.
Wow.
That's the Mets.
Huh.
21-9.
With just one loss to go before they get to double digits.
Yeah.
And yet 2 teams with single-digit wins. Those White Sox and the Rockies only have 4 wins. They have a 138 winning percentage, not to harp too much on the bottom, but dang, that's terrible.
Yeah.
That's really bad.
Highest run differential, I believe, is the Mets too.
Yeah.
Right now. And that's all with Juan Soto coming off with a slow start to the season.
Yeah, that Soto will warm up at some point.
Mhm.
Francisco Lindor is doing really well over there. Alonso's doing fine. Their pitching's actually holding up pretty well. But I would say overall, I guess I'm a little impressed with the Tiger performance. I didn't have them making the postseason. I thought there was going to be a little regression. Mariners are actually hitting this year.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a surprise, but I'll take it. Hey, guess who's back in last place in the NL West?
In the NL West?
Or sorry, AL West. And you can thank my Minnesota Twins for helping to accelerate that pattern there.
Angels.
Life is back to normal there. Hey, the Twins, I mean, I know they're still in 4th, but they've been better of late. They're up over 5 above they have a positive run differential again. They're stabilizing. I'm not saying they're suddenly going to be an AL contender, but even after Keyshal's broken arm, talk about a dark moment as a Twins fan. They're actually playing okay right now. Royce Lewis looks like he's about to be back. They've stabilized the ship. But right now, Pete Crow Armstrong's the biggest of the league. For maybe Fernando Tatis Jr. in terms of going from really good to wow, he could win the MVP early, but you can see where that can hold up throughout the entire season. His overall play, defensive and offensive.
Yeah.
For a team that's right up at the top, I know the Dodgers are in first and the Padres are in third, but they and the Giants are all right there at the top. Corbin Carroll's also playing pretty well as well. He's recovered from that slump. He's back at it. The biggest picture thing I could say this year, this is a very National League slanted quality season. That didn't grammatically make sense, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
This is an NL season.
More NL depth.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lots.
I would say, too, I know you and I both were a little surprised at the preseason projections, but maybe a little proven right that the Reds actually are better than what preseason projections had them at. Playing better at that point. I mean, they're second place in the NL Central, 16-13 overall in the season.
The season ended today. I actually did my first, what would the playoff matchups be? I felt comfortable enough to do that a couple days ago. And right now the Reds would be tied with the Phillies for the 6th seed in the playoffs. Right, in case anyone's wondering, right now it would be Mets, Dodgers, Cubs, Giants, Padres, and then Phillies, Reds. And Brewers not that far back. I mean, they're 500 versus 552, but they're a game and a half back. It's still early enough. They've got plenty of time. But yeah, the National League is a brutal situation if you're a mid-range team like the Brewers. How concerned were you after what happened in the Giants series with a half-hour-long behind closed doors meeting? Is this really like crisis point or
they did that a few times last year though? So I think that's just kind of the norm now at this point. They did that a few times last year. So I wasn't alarmed by it because
okay, good. Yeah. I was getting a little worried to be honest. I wanted a little reassurance that
I mean, you factor in all the stuff they've gone through, sitting at 15-15. Is it that horrible? Obviously, we'd like to see them play better. Some of their losses have been by 1 in this stretch. But I think when you factor in all the stuff that's gone on with their pitching, maybe they're lucky to be at 15-15 right now.
That's a common thing with teams that assess who's not playing for the team right now. It's kind of almost like a variation of the Now 14-15 Atlanta Braves. Again, if you're like, if you're hoping for a good playoff spot, they've come roaring back. They're way out behind the Mets, but they're right behind the Brewers for trying to get up towards 6th.
Mm-hmm.
They've had a lot of injuries. They're going to get a lot better. They're going to surpass the Brewers, and that's just what's going to happen. Maybe not, but realistically, I do wonder though if like the Cubs at like third base, I think their bullpen. I think I'm trying to remember which spot is a weak spot. They could address it, but we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
So I still think there's a legit shot for them in the Central. I know it's still early, but I definitely think they can win the division.
Mm-hmm. All right, shot clock's going to cut us off about 20 seconds, so we'll do some stock reports, whose stock is rising, whose stock is falling. Last call if you want to participate. You could send those on over to us. Taking your thoughts on what the Bucks should do this offseason now that their season is officially in the books. So 2 in, 1 more to go. We got some news updates, and we'll be back in just a few minutes.
WAYY Eau Claire, W286CK Eau Claire, Sports Talk 105.1 and 790 AM. From the 715 Newsroom, it's your news done differently with Morgan McCarthy.
Well, good morning. Here's what we're learning today. Touching down in the middle of our week, we have an update from Mother Nature. And earlier this week, when we now have confirmation of 4 tornadoes that touched down in Eau Claire County. The National Weather Service confirmed 4 tornadoes touched down in Eau Claire County and were EF1 tornadoes. They're now out looking at damage in certain areas that were hit. You can find some full details online, 715newsroom.com. Keeping those headlines local, the body of a Chippewa Falls woman missing for 9 years has been found. You may have seen this on socials. Not a lot of details on how or where she was found, but she did leave her home in June of 2016 and was last seen the next day running from her vehicle on a road in St. Cloud, Minnesota. Property owner in that area finding remains confirmed to be hers, as both St. Cloud and Chippewa Falls police say they'll have more updates in the coming days. A deadly motorcycle crash remains under investigation and claimed the life of a 55-year-old Dunn County man. This happened yesterday on 420th Street. First responders arrived and found that there was a man laying in the roadway. He was flown to a hospital where he did later die. Initial reports say he swerved to get out of the way of hitting a deer and lost control. Full details you can find at 715newsroom.com. On the state scene, it's in the books, but there were a lot of eyes on Green Bay. Second most watched draft ever is the early call, with the average audience being 7.5 million viewers watching the draft held in Titletown in our state, making it the second most watched NFL draft ever, only behind the 2020 draft. Now, what do you think? Raisins in a cookie? Mean trick. They look too much like chocolate chips. Can you make an exception today?
We'll start with a cookie that is always in the top 5 of favorite cookies, according to Cravery. Packed with vitamins and antioxidants, and 77% of us like it without raisins. But put a raisin in that cookie, and that number drops to about 23% for likability. A Reddit poll shows most people believe raisins are okay, but not great, but also not the enemy, unless it's in your oatmeal cookie. I'm Bree Tennis.
I mean, where do we start? We can dig into the numbers here for Kasper. Turns out when it comes to Packers knowledge, he ranked really high. People into that. I think the survey brought back like 75% of people think he knows what he's talking about.
And that number drops to about 23% for likability.
We put out a poll question about his attitude. Overwhelmingly, the response,
okay, but not great.
And they did ask. Kasper said, ask about Morgan picking on me. People said, sure, it might be a little mean on occasion,
but also not the enemy.
Hey, for Sports Talk 105.1. I'm Morgan McCarthy.
I want to grab that heavier coat this morning as clear skies and light winds have allowed temperatures to cool off in the 30s. Thankfully, as we get behind high pressure today, those southerly winds will return, therefore highs topping out in the mid to upper 60s. That will be accompanied by mostly to partly sunny skies before thicker cloud cover arrives tonight. We'll have a chance of showers, lows in the upper 40s, a few more showers possible tomorrow. On 13 First Alert, meteorologist Derek Tallman.
Hey, it's Cavino and Rich. And whether you're heading to the office, kicking back to watch the big game, or enjoying a night on the town,
TravisMathew has you covered. They create versatile apparel designed to make you look and feel your best, wherever the day takes you. From performance-driven styles to everyday essentials for both men and women, TravisMathew bridges the gap between style and comfort. Ready to elevate your everyday? Visit TravisMathew.com and get 20% off your first order when you sign up for email. That's TravisMathew.com.
Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage. For a limited time, go to rapidradios.com now for 60% off and free UPS shipping. Add code RADIO and get an extra 5% off.
From the hardwood and the diamond to the gridiron and the course, Dan's got you covered with his trademark blend of sports passion and knowledge. He has the sports info you want and the sports therapy you need. So get your game face on, people.
Let's go get to the bell, huh? Put up or shut up, turn. We gotta get it started from the jump. Play big. Let's go. This is what legends made, man. Showtime. Welcome to the big leagues. Let's go.
Because it's the Dan Kasper Show.
Final hour on this Wednesday morning, making the turn on the week already. We'll get back to some more baseball, basketball talk. But we've got some stock reports to get to first. So whose stock is rising, whose stock is falling? We'll start off with stock fallers. Luke?
The Bucks.
Okay, I figured you were going to
Yep.
go there. Yep.
The thing to remember, too,
did they sell their soul for a championship in 21?
16 reasons why the Bucks shouldn't have won the 2021 NBA championship. That was the lead on the Bill Simmons podcast. He and Russillo were talking about that yesterday morning. Or is it yesterday or 2 mornings ago? Sorry, Monday morning. But one of them did stop and say, look, they did win a title. And I know that's one of the comments, like, yeah, okay, come on, but they should have. They won a title. How many other teams have won titles of late? Not that many.
Yeah.
They got one. There are a lot of other teams that wish they had one. There are some, right now, we don't know which ones they are, but there's some teams that haven't won a title that aren't going to win one. The future looks bright, and it isn't going to happen. Like my Timberwolves, they're one that sure looks like they're in position to win something at some point. It may not happen. Could happen with the Thunder. This may be the one good season, really good season they have, and then they're above average. And then the Bucks got one. So let's remember, you can both be upset about where they're at now and accept that the Giannis era brought an NBA championship. So their stock is falling right now.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to be in line to win a championship in the near future. Probably, realistically, for the rest of this decade. After that, you don't know. 2030s and beyond, don't speculate about any of the 30 teams in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
They have troubles with their draft pick situations, with all the ownership of their first round draft picks. And I know a lot of those cannot pan out. We've seen the Bucks make plenty of not great first round draft picks, so I guess that's the mitigating factor to this. And they could make some really good second round draft picks as well, but they don't have a lot of options with the second apron, with their draft capital. I don't see them being as good next year, and I think they may have to make the radical move. Like if I had to choose right now, I would move Giannis Antetokounmpo, get some assets, and try to rebuild from there. If I were John Horst right now, short of Giannis saying, "Dang it, I'm not moving, and I'm going to cause a problem here if you try to move me," I'll reassess under that circumstance.
Right.
Short of that, I think now you got to rebuild the team.
Mm-hmm. This is what Giannis had to say last night after his asked about his future with the Milwaukee Bucks. If it's going to play for me, is it going to play for me? Probably not going to play for me, because why would this thing play for me?
Always still using the Apple IIe computer
and win championship.
So there you go. That's his answer. I understand where he says, well, however I answer this is going to translate, but he easily also could have said, yeah, I feel like we could win another one in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it could have just been as simple as that. I don't
And
wanna
his
read
mood
too
was
much,
off,
but
given the whole Halliburton thing. All that he was not in the best spot. You could tell.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, there's also that.
Get ready for a long, grueling offseason.
Mhm.
My stock faller. One, it's not because he wouldn't answer me every time I kept yelling his name. But two, Mel Kiper Jr. Yeah, Mel Kiper Jr. right now. I get, he's upset that Shador went 5th round in that. But to go out there and say that the NFL has been misjudging quarterback play for the last 50 years, this was the same draft expert that thought Jimmy Clausen was going to be a star, that Will Levis was his number 1 quarterback on the board just a couple of years ago. We could go through a bunch of other ones here, but Mel, hey man, I get it. Shador was number 1 on yours, and he went to the 5th round. We have not seen a fall like that, I think, in ever. I mean, we've seen falls like Lael Collins. Remember the offensive lineman?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He was going to be a 1st-round pick. He goes undrafted and was cleared from his legal stuff. It was a ex-girlfriend that was found murdered.
Yeah.
And then he ended up being cleared. So there was that where teams were a little bit nervous about. This just felt like, in my opinion, it felt like Shador didn't take this seriously. Like, he didn't take the whole draft process seriously. And I feel like teams didn't want to have to deal with the attitude. And that's what it came down to. Does he have talent? Absolutely, I think he has talent. But at the same time, if you don't have the right attitude, if you went into a job interview with the cockiness and the ego that he has displayed, are you going to get a job? Probably not, right?
No.
So
I have to be so good to go, well, we're going to take this because guess what? No.
And I feel like that's the, like, I don't have the inside on that, but I feel like that's the biggest issue here is he didn't have any humility within the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it was because his last name's Sanders or his dad is Dion. I think a lot of that contributed maybe for some teams because they didn't want to have to deal with Dion.
Right.
Like, okay, if we aren't playing well, does that mean the pressure's going to be on us that we have to hire Dion? Because I guarantee you, if you hire Dion as your head coach, Dion's going to have a lot of say within your franchise. And do you want that?
With everything beyond just, now Shador is the starting quarterback. And then what else starts to happen?
Right. So I feel like from a straight up talent point, yeah, Shador probably should have been drafted earlier. But there's other factors into this. These are business decisions. And I feel like teams factored in, all right, he didn't care about this. He didn't take this serious. This is a job. This is a business for these owners, for these GMs. Their job's all about winning and coming away with championships. Great, he's got the talent, but if he's not going to put in the work or he's not going to take this serious, why should they invest a high pick in him?
No. He's probably a late 1st round, something 2nd round draft pick. I know there's the whole 2nd round draft picks for quarterbacks. That's not a thing because of contractual stuff. It makes sense to not draft them there necessarily. You want to either go 1st round or wait a while on them. But talent-wise, that's probably where he stacked best. I mean, it's a little tough to tell exactly how good he was at Colorado. In some ways, you could say, wow, he helped them to win. He was tough in there. In other senses, dang, he was taking a lot of sacks. Get rid of the ball, dude. There are different ways you can look at it. Well, I don't know how much we're going to look at it in Cleveland.
Yeah.
How much do you think, and maybe you've already said this, but how much do you think that was a Haslam pick? Did they pick Gabriel and then it
doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, did either, I'm thinking through a few scenarios that could be legit. Was there a big discussion of the front office wanted Gabriel, Haslam wanted Sanders because of the so-called special relationship, and so they're like, all right, how about we take both? All right, because supposedly as much as you can read a draft room, They didn't seem that excited.
Yeah.
Again, body language. Well, does that necessarily mean anything? I don't know.
Right. Especially in an instance like that.
Right.
You know?
Like, are they really going to do the? I'm sorry, it's one of the stupidest things you see when the draft room is all standing up and applauding. They're like, "Yeah!"
Yeah, they're like fist pumping. And I get it in the first round for some of those guys, but I mean, come on, we don't need to do that on day 3.
no, that's a bad look.
Yeah.
Or did they go, all right, we want to draft Gabriel? Haslam saw that and like called him like, no, you are now drafting, or one of y'all is getting fired. And they're like, all right, sure, pick him. I don't know what's going on with that.
It's almost kind of like what Washington did when they got RG3, and then in the 3rd round they drafted Kirk Cousins a little bit.
A little bit.
But the weird part in this whole thing is they traded for Kenny Pickett in the offseason. They signed Joe Flacco. Deshaun is still on the roster.
And he still will be on the roster.
Yeah.
Despite not playing.
So I don't know how that's, I kind of feel maybe, you know, when I saw that pop up, I'm like, okay, maybe the Browns are like, you know, that guy that has that jersey that just has every last name of starting quarterbacks on there. Maybe they're just like, you know what? Screw it. We're going to get a bunch of them, and maybe we'll get one right. We're just going to add a bunch of guys, and maybe one of these guys will pan out.
Has to add 4 on just from the offseason.
Right. So, I mean, maybe do we got to set the line at 3.5 for how many different starting quarterbacks the Browns are going to have this upcoming season?
How many can they actually keep? I mean, you don't have a minor league to stash them down there.
Yeah. I feel like Pickett or Flacco is going to be gone.
Yeah. That seems like pretty much a lock. I'm not sure if Gabriel and Sanders make the team either. Understanding that contractually, Deshaun Watson will be on the team. So I guess in one way you could say, yes, he's going to be a quarterback on the roster, but you almost have to not count him because he's not going to be active.
But back to my stock faller, I do think this should take a hit. I don't think Kuiper did himself any favors by going on the soapbox.
No.
And you know, calling out the NFL and calling out, you know, talent evaluators and such. And because I'm like, well, dude, people can show you receipts right now on who you stood on a box for. And I'm like,
look, if Shadur Sanders turns out to be a really good quarterback, he's gonna look great.
Yeah. But we may not get to see that opportunity.
Maybe not at all. That there's a big I don't know with this. How much of that was performative? How much of that was Mel Kiper Jr. going, dang it, he is a top 5 pick. What are these guys doing? How much was the balance on that?
I think it's performative, to be honest with you. I do. I think a part of it was like I had this guy as my top quarterback, and the fact that he's fallen down this far, you know, let's be real, he wants to get his evaluations right.
Yeah.
He wants to get them correct.
Because I mean, it was hijacking the show, and I think to a certain degree that also helped with the ratings. That people, I mean, I was paying more attention to the Sanders thing, not watching it, but I was like, I found myself refreshing the rounds in a day 3, way more than I ever would have imagined I would have done.
Yeah,
because by that point, I barely know any of the names, and usually at that point, I'm really not paying much attention outside of Vikings and Packers picks because I want to know who our teams. I was paying more attention, and had I been watching more on ESPN, I think I would have been watching more for the sake of what's Mel gonna say now,
right?
Because he was having some seeming interactions with freaking Reese Davis.
Yeah,
how do you get him? I mean, how does that happen?
Right, exactly. So I mean, it was, and being at the draft, it was the talk. You know, it was the talk. It's like, because I think after Thursday, a lot of us there were like, okay, he's going to get drafted date. And then the fact that he didn't, it's like, holy cow. Because I'll tell you, like on day 2, Friday night, when we were all there, you know, we're sitting there looking at, okay, Raiders coming up here, Saints coming up here, Browns over here. We're looking at the teams that, you know, where he could possibly go. And the further along we got and the teams weren't there, were like, oh boy, you know, it's like, it's going to happen. Then it came to the question, you know, after Thursday, it was like, okay, where in day 2? Then when day 2 came by, the question switched to, is he going to at all? is he going to get drafted? And I'll be honest, I couldn't answer that.
Once day 3 really started to kick in, I started to think, because someone suggested this on like Blue Sky, Twitter, wherever I was seeing this, and it made sense. Like, is it a combination of either, or a combination of him and his folks saying, don't draft me, I'm now going to be a free agent? Or teams have collectively gone, we can't have this guy as a backup. If you're going to draft him, you have to draft him high. Once you get to a certain point, he's not your third guy. The combination of potential talent, the Dion factor, the Shador personality, everything.
Yep.
That's not the sort of person, like, you wouldn't want to draft. I'll just take another name. You wouldn't want Travis Hunter going in the 5th round. Travis Hunter, of course, way more normal, but someone with that amount of gravitas, more positive gravitas, you wouldn't have as a 5th round pick and then have him as a 3rd or 4th on the depth chart. No, you wouldn't do that. Way more so in the Shador case. But I wondered the first one where I was wondering if his camp was saying, don't do anything. And I was thinking, well, we're really going to go through day 3. He's not going to get drafted at all. Then I started to think, what's the precedent that's going to come out of this? Do players start going, don't draft me, nobody draft me, I am going to sit out the draft, and it's going to be a free-for-all at 6 p.m. on Saturday?
You talk about I was kind of wondering about this, and we heard some talk about it, especially like with Quinn Ewers too.
Mm-hmm.
Are we going to see a way, I don't know if it'll be anytime soon, where if a player is drafted lower than expected, but they can opt to go back to college?
I would not be surprised if that happens.
No. Because Quinn Ewers was a 7th round pick.
Mm-hmm.
He could be making millions playing college football compared to thousands in the NFL right now. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think it'll happen next year, but in the next couple of years, few years, and that's going to be a risk for teams, drafting these guys.
So where does
is it kind of like baseball in the essence with that draft?
Yep. We're not used to it in the NFL, but we should be used to it in sports. If anyone follows baseball, you know that happens a lot. I don't know if the NFL puts in a certain rule about that. Like, once you / college football, though I'm sure a lot of college programs wouldn't mind a high profile player coming back. I think that's a legitimate possibility given the money that's going around. And I know you'd ultimately make more money in the pros. That's one of Andrew Brandt's big things about, would it make more sense to stay in college? He's like, no, you will make more money in the pros. Unless you really, 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 really fall. Now, he hasn't addressed that yet, and I'm curious if that comes up with yours. That's a very good business of sports issue.
Yeah.
That's the whole NIL agent thing now. Like, this is something that would not have been possible 5+ years ago, and now it seems legitimate. Because my initial scenario of wait and become an undrafted free agent, and then have teams basically just blow up the rookie scale. Now, I do wonder if some player, I hadn't thought of that before. Could a player actually do that and tell everyone, no, I will play for you if you do the undrafted free agent. I will not play for you. I will go back to college if you draft me, and try to blow that up. What is that? What are the implications to the NFLPA, et cetera, et cetera?
So I don't know. I'll use the Collins example because he signed a 3-year contract with Cowboys after going undrafted. He was going to be a 1st rounder. This was 2015 though, and his contract was 3-year, all guaranteed, about $1.6 million. So I don't know where that would. That's not 1st round money. It's not. So, but a little bit right there.
Okay,
kind of gives you that. Yeah, definitely. I just. But yeah, back to Mel and that. I don't know. It just, dude, receipts. Don't be sitting there and criticizing NFL people for the last 50 years getting the quarterback position wrong. Where did Mel have Tom Brady? Is he going to throw a Bill Polian and say he had him as a 1st round grade too?
Yeah.
I don't know what he had, but I would imagine he didn't have a 1st round grade on Tom Brady either.
Probably not. I mean, I'm sure somewhere we can find it. We can probably Google Mel Kiper's 2000 draft grades or whatever. It was. Well, the good thing is there is football to be played that will prove people right or wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we have plenty of draft grades out there, though.
He did have him as a 5th round.
Okay, fair enough. Well, we'll see. Mel Kiper Jr. may be proven right with this. Ultimately, we'll see.
Yeah. So, all right, stock riser.
I'll say Jordan Love. I like the wide receiver picks. Golden, obviously. The Williams pick, Savion Williams. The options that he potentially could bring.
Yeah.
And again, presuming that the upside is there. But that's what we're basing everything in the draft is based on upside. Well, having potentially more secure options, more variety, I think increases the accuracy of Jordan Love and just a better accuracy percentage. Not that he's necessarily going to be a more accurate quarterback, but get more guys actually catching balls. That seems to be a good thing with the Packers. It's having more variety, period. Probably an upgraded wide receiver core means his numbers are going to look better. It's going to help the team overall. I think Jordan Love, I don't want to say dark horse because it makes it sound like he's like, wow, where did he come from? But I think he becomes like a almost second tier MVP candidate by some way through next season. I don't know where, because it depends on the development of Golden and Williams. I wouldn't say, let's say right out of the bat, we're dealing with rookies. But it's going to help his offensive prowess. He's going to have more receptions and with more options for the defense to work around. That should give him more open targets. I think Jordan Love comes out looking a lot better because of these acquisitions from the Packers. His stock is definitely going up.
I am going to go with stock riser Mark Murphy. Mark Murphy, I think for a lot of Packers fans the last few years has been under criticism, whether it's been hirings, firings, player acquisition, lack thereof. The buck stops with him. Some fans even saying, it's gone. Packers have been too corporate and losing all that. But, we talk a lot about Bob Harlan and the legacy. We talk about replacing legends. I think Mark Murphy, he's got a couple months left here, but after this draft weekend, and you kind of take a look back at what he's all accomplished, Mark Murphy did a pretty dang good job replacing a legend in Bob Harlan. When you talk about Titletown had to happen. You could say you missed the small town feel of a Kmart and a Big Lots right next to it. We all tailgated there. I mean, I've got fantastic memories of tailgating in the Kmart parking lot. But in 2025, it needed to happen. Titletown needed to happen. Let's be real. And the fact that when it first became available that the draft was going to be a traveling circus, essentially, he got it to come to Green Bay is the perfect feather in his cap for his tenure as CEO, president of the Packers.
Right.
I mean, Bob Harlan set the bar incredibly high. Mark Murphy has set the bar incredibly high for policy now coming in as president and such. So, tip of the cap, stock rising. I would hope fans now, if they had gripes about Mark Murphy, look at what happened this past weekend. Because I was a doubter. I didn't think it was going to work.
Right.
I was like, no way. It's going to be a mess. It's going to be a blank show. And it wasn't, from my experience at least. And you got to give him credit because he was the guy who envisioned it, wanted it to happen. He got the opportunity, and they hit it out of the park. So, and him announcing the first pick the way he did was absolutely perfect. I mean, the crowd noise when he first said, for the first time since 2002, the pop from the crowd was like, they knew exactly where it was going. Like I was off to the side where we were at. I was in a side booth. And so I'm looking at like the entire general audience crowd in that parking lot. I'm here, stage is right there. And right away, he's like, for the first time since 2002, like the majority of people knew. And then when he said it's a wide receiver, it got louder. And then the pause again, Matthew Gold. And then, I mean, it was insane. He played it perfectly. And kudos to him. Yeah. He did it exactly right. So, stock riser, Mark Murphy.
For sure. the thing is, Lambeau's still, compared to anywhere else in the NFL, is still pretty small town.
Yeah.
It always will be.
Yep.
Until they move to downtown, I shouldn't even say down, until they move to a clone of the Titans and Raiders stadiums, the Manica ones. If you know Manica, you know what I'm talking about. Dome Stadium in downtown Milwaukee. Until they do that, they are still going to be, even with all of the corporateness and all of the redevelopment, you're still parking on people's yards a few blocks from Lambeau.
Yeah.
That's, hello, that's different.
Yeah.
It always will be Green Bay. Even when I was watching some of the aerial shots, like the drone shots as they're going over, and I see the paper mills in the background with the steam coming out, I'm like, yep, that's good old Green Bay, Wisconsin. It looks like eastern part of my state. Like it's still not big, massive. It from a distance, from watching from home, it still felt like Green Bay, even if it's the NFL.
And because I apologize, I had a ton of people texting me while I was there, and I know I didn't respond to a lot of people, but they're wondering what it was like. And I'll just say, I just kept it like this. It felt like a game day. That's the vibe I got. At least, again, I would spend the majority of my time over the, let's just call it the Resch Center or the Bar Center, not the Titletown area. Right. So like that, I was not shoulder to shoulder with people. It wasn't that it was well spaced out where you could have conversations and walk around, but it felt like game day environment. You had bands playing. You had people still tailgating. We tailgate for crying out loud.
Did it smell like a tailgate?
It did smell like a tailgate, essentially. Okay. And I think Friday was the rain. So, I mean, you had that factored into it a little bit. But, I mean, you had the bands playing. You had people decked out in the craziest uniforms, outfits, whatever you want to call them. So, I mean, it still felt like a Packer game day, which I think was a big bonus for them.
Yeah.
It didn't get away from that feel.
That's good.
So, again, I wasn't on the other side. So I could tell you what it was like over there. I would spend the majority of my time on the other side.
And I guess if anyone's concerned of how much more corporate could they make this is the pinnacle event for Lambeau Field. They will not get a Super Bowl.
Right.
So if this was as much as you're going to, the biggest show you can put on for the NFL, and as we were talking about much earlier, it's going to be probably a minimum of 10 years, even if they do try to rotate to some cities more frequently. If they try to literally go every place first and then redo, then maybe it's more like 20, 25 years because factor all the cities that won't get a Super Bowl. Some will get a Super Bowl that are going to get it one time because new stadium, you get your Super Bowl. Now you're done.
Minnesota.
Right. It's going to be a long time before you'd have to do any additional infrastructure. And I don't know how much bigger the draft can get. Like it can get a little bigger, but like, how would it be like twice as big? I don't think so.
What else would you do? Like, so being at the first one in Chicago in 2015, I was kind of curious the differences between the two. But there are differences. There's big time differences. I mean, just in terms of the numbers and that, but even how they do it. Because remember in 2015, they still did it inside a theater when they announced the picks. So like the fans that were outside there, we were watching on the boards.
Right.
Goodell came out at the beginning to open the draft, but then went back in the theater, and that's
right.
Where all the picks were happening. Yes, so once in a while, if a player was there, he'd come out and do a quick interview. But that's a major thing that's different now, is like everything's outside or everything's out in front of the general public now. They didn't hide out in the Resch Center and do it in there.
Right.
So even 10 years later, I know they've been doing that the last few years, but 2015, when I went down to Chicago, essentially we were watching on TV outside.
Now
it's all about the fans.
A thing all there. Yeah.
Right.
So this probably is the model going forward. It's probably close to being the ideal for what you would want with it. So that's good. That's what we're going to have going forward as the draft continues to move around. And again, 20, 25 years down the road, it's tough to predict what's society going to be like then. How big is football at that point? Probably still as huge, but you don't know exactly what's the next generation going to be. Are they going to be as all of that? You don't know. But this is an ideal.
Yep.
And Green Bay passed the test.
Yep.
clearly. And I'm sure the NFL is coming away from this going, well, if we need to go to a place sooner than later, we can always go back to Green Bay.
Yep.
And probably Detroit. Let's be fair. They could go back to Detroit and have some success, but they'll come back to Green Bay at some point. They didn't do anything to make them not go.
I glad you said that because I thought it was a one-shot done, and I'm not ready to say that. I switched it. I wouldn't be surprised if they come back again.
Yeah.
So, all right. We got to take a quick break. We'll be back with more coming up after these quick words.
The Dan Kasper Show will be right back.
Have you started your spring cleaning yet? Hey, don't worry if you haven't. I haven't either. But spring cleaning doesn't just have to be dusting the shelves or cleaning the windows. It should also be for doing some updating and remodeling in your home. And now that you maybe have some extra money from your tax return, don't you want to invest it into something that will last? But what do I invest in, Dan? Hey, new floors, of course. Whether it's for your home or workspace, Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire is your flooring headquarters. If it's carpet, luxury vinyl planks, or tile you seek, they have the best options at the best prices in the area. My family has used Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire many times over the years, and we have been so impressed with each project. From carpeting the stairs and bedrooms to tiling the man cave and vinyl floors for the laundry room, Carpet City Flooring Center helped us select the best floor for each project that fit our budget, and they will do the same for you. So give them a visit and let the team at Carpet City Flooring Center help you totally transform your space with some brand new awesome looking floors.
Warmer weather means more time on your feet. Make sure every step feels great. Whether it's running, walking, or working, proper support matters. The Shoe Doctor carries a wide selection of supportive shoes, custom insoles, and footwear solutions designed for comfort and performance. Stop in to find the right fit for spring and summer activities. The Shoe Doctor, helping feet feel their best season after season. Visit the Shoe Doctor today at 2321 East Claremont Avenue or online at shoedoctoreauclair.com, where comfort starts.
This update is sponsored by UW Credit Union. For every stage of life, UW Credit Union is here for every you. Play Brewers Baseball Bingo presented by U.S. Cellular for the chance to win prizes all season long. Download the MLB Ballpark app from the App Store or Google Play to get in on the action. Join UW Credit Union at uwcu.org. Insured by NCUA.
Hey, sports fans, Joe DeGuano here. You know, sometimes you just want to go to that place where everybody knows your name. Court House in downtown Eau Claire is that place for me. When I'm not talking sports with Dan in the morning, you can probably find me on a bar stool at Court House. Aside from the rotating specials that always hit the spot, my favorite thing about Court House is the service. Whether it's Hannah or Jason or whoever, every time I'm there, no matter who is bartending, they know exactly what I want even before I do. Whether it's my vodka gimlets made with love or hams in a frosted mug, it's always exactly what I need after a long day. So if you're looking for that place where everyone truly does know your name, make Court House your go-to spot. They've got what you need. Cold beer, the best fish fry in town, service that makes you feel at home. Oh, and my personal favorite, the Old Abe Burger. And hey, next time you're at Court House, if you happen to spot me, once again, your first one's on me. Court House, downtown Eau Claire, Grand Avenue.
Broadcasting live from the TDS Sports Talk 105.1 studios, it's the Dan Kasper Show.
Since we only have a few minutes before we got to take another break before we get to some picks here, what was your reaction to your Vikings picks or your thoughts on your Vikings picks?
They're given the few picks that they had. Yes, Spaceballs reference when I saw the tight end Bartholomew. The Jackson, I think, is a good pick just to make more options from the quarterback situation. And given JJ McCarthy being, pretty young, coming off an injury. You want to give him as much time as possible back there. The offensive line is not as bad as it was in the 2010s, back when that was the Achilles heel of the Vikings. They've improved over the past few years. They made a lot of changes over the offseason. That was their biggest change of adjusting across the front. Donovan Jackson, I mean, he's not necessarily going to be David Bakhtiari in terms of like quality offensive lineman. I know that's not exactly a connection to position, but in terms of just referencing a really good offensive lineman, I think he'll be solid. The whole point is you don't want to hear about a whole lot of holding penalties. You don't want to hear about, wow, Garrett Bradbury just got turnstiled. You don't want that. And I don't think that's going to be a case with Donovan Jackson. So I feel solid about the pick.
Yeah.
The receiver core needs I guess it needs a little more substance given Addison probably being suspended. So Ty Felton's going to help a little bit in that department. Doesn't hurt to have another option there. And after that, you're down to the lower rounds and hey, we get to hear the name Kobe King a little bit more in local sports, I guess. That's about it. We'll see what happens with the other three lower round picks. If they become anything, wouldn't be surprised if they're special teams or backups here or there. So given the paucity of draft picks, I'm okay with it.
Yeah. I will say, if we're staying within the division, whenever they made a pick, my reaction was, well, I can't say it, because I thought it was a good pick. I thought Chicago drafted really well. And that's annoying for me to say. You know, their first pick, tight end, Loveland from Michigan. Then Luther Burden with their second round pick. I know I said something after that. I'm like, son of a... Trapilo, the tackle from Boston College, I thought was a solid pick as well. And then to get Shamar Turner later on the second round, I thought Chicago drafted really well. So that was like, oh, come on now. that's not the Chicago we know. But you know, just stop it.
Do they have a competent GM now?
Well, I mean, this was the same GM that drafted I drafted Caleb Williams in that last year. So I don't know.
I think they might be figuring themselves out a little bit.
Maybe, but that sucked when I saw them. I thought they had a good draft. I don't know how the experts ranked them and such, but they had some good picks there. So if I'm a Bears fan, I think at least you should be pretty darn happy with your selections.
I don't remember what Mel Kiper Jr.'s draft grades, but I know we don't.
Yeah.
It seemed I was sensing two things this year with regards to, I guess, draft stereotypes and whatnot. One, it's actually picking up, this is just two people, but when you hear two on like podcasts and whatnot, you start to think, is this more of a thing of why go to an NFL draft? I haven't really heard that much before, maybe because it's become such a big deal. Now people are starting to get takes on it as opposed to it being in Radio City Music Hall, and it doesn't really matter as much if you're not in New York. But I was starting to hear more of it seems like a waste of time. You're just standing around, hear a name, standing around, hear a name. I don't know. Like if I had an easy way to go, I would have gone.
Yeah.
Experience and stuff like that. But that was picking up a little bit more this year, I sensed. The other thing was the draft grade thing. There seemed to be less of that and more of a winners and losers, just broader, like, let's do some takes on this. Is this a thing? Like the Dan Graziano overreaction, underreaction column, but less of the draft grades. And I wonder if we've now kind of crystallized to the point of, okay, don't do a draft grade. You're going to get mocked, actually mocked for doing that. Also, I heard this reference? You tell me, because you follow the draft previews a lot more. Were there more people doing individual mocks? You did one, but did it seem like more people were like, I'm just doing one and I'm sticking with this, as opposed to
the mock draft of integrity,
right? As opposed to I'm going to do like 16 mock drafts to cover all the bases.
I think. Well, Peter Schrager only does one, and he hit the Packer one. Daniel Jeremiah, I think, did a couple, but maybe not as much as he did in the past. Like he follows the Mike Mack. Mike Mack only used to do one, and that was the night before it was released. And Jeremiah still does his last one the night before, but I think he only had a couple versions beforehand. I mean, Kuiper does 500 of them.
Yeah.
I think at that point too. So
it's like that's his thing. You kind of
Right.
have to have that.
Right. That's why I'm like, don't do a mock until the week of.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but I will say one thing too. I think I might need to get a motorhome next time I go and just park it. We might have to expand the mobile man cave to a motorhome.
Then get like a scooter or something so you could maybe like park it further out, scoot your way in.
Well, it's funny you say that because Green Bay did have, like Eau Claire has those scooters.
Mm-hmm.
They did have those stationed around.
Were people using those?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if they were using them at night, but
that gets a little dicey.
There was some. I've never seen this during a game. I'm sure some houses are probably like this, but a lot of people advertising. If you park in our yard, you could use their bathroom.
Okay.
Or they also had beverages and food for sale. So, I mean, that was a little bit different than game days.
Okay.
So, I mean, there was that. I mean, there was a jambalaya stand that a couple guys in our group wanted to hit up, but they never did. So, couldn't tell you if that was good or not.
I'm not sure about a jambalaya stand in Green Bay unless it's a bunch of Saints fans that came up.
Yeah, it may have been. So,
I mean, I don't want to say it's bad. It probably was really good. By the way, just to look through Mel Kiper Jr. Draft Experts draft grades, the lowest grade he gave was a C. That's an average.
And that's like NFL.com's lowest one was a B.
Yeah, which is above average.
Yeah.
So everything is that's really kind of hedging your bet on this. But he gave the Bears a B plus. He gave the Packers a B. He gives the Vikings a B minus. And the Bears are near the top and the Vikings are near the bottom. Okay.
I think if we could grade them based off of, if you had the caveat of, we're grading them based off whether they hit, like the teams hit needs, or if that player fits what they do.
Right.
That's if we grade them that way, that's
I've
fine.
seen criticism of the Vikings in that they probably should have drafted a corner. I've seen that with the Packers too.
Yeah.
That's a fair assessment there.
Yeah.
But now the other way of looking at this is we don't really know. There's a lot of potential with these players. So for an immediate grade, anywhere from average to way above average, like he has the Browns at an A plus. Surprise, surprise.
Weird.
But that's, if you really think about it right now, that's probably the best way to grade these. I mean, short of a team like pulling a Vikings, but then let's say they pulled a Vikings from the aughts of missing your pick. But then if you then did not actually make that pick, like somehow you're just completely forgot, like, oh, whoops, we lost our first round pick. Okay, then you deserve a D or an F.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, yeah, I guess everyone is at worst, meh. At best, that's excellent. When you really grade it, when you can actually go, no, this was below average, it's 2-3 years down the road. Now, like draft grading, say the 2021 draft, you could do that now, but then you know how everything turned out. We don't know. So it seems wimpy, but it's probably the right way to grade if you're going to grade a draft. Or if you didn't, I'd almost say the winner and loser thing is maybe even more controversial at this point, because did someone really lose?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
How do we know? Now
know.
You're saying that's an absolute failure on the part of a certain team or a certain player.
Right.
You don't know.
Right. You don't know. So, all right, let's take our final break, and then we'll be back with some picks coming up, baby. I lost the mouse. There it is. Hey, figured it out. All right, quick break. We'll be back with some picks coming up after these few words.
You're listening to the Dan Kasper Show.
I think it's time we have the talk. 30 minutes, that's all it takes. Well, at least to update your website. With Websticks, you can buy blocks of time and use them when and how you need. Let's say you own a restaurant. With just one block of time, Websticks can update a menu item or add a phone number. Whew, I'm glad we finally had this talk. Find out more at websticks.com. That's websticks with an X.com.
Stunning sights, more clicks, web support from Websticks.
Thy ticket, Lady Jennifer of Coolidge.
Well, many thanks, good sir. Hereeth my Discover card.
They accept Discover at Renaissance fairs?
Yeah, they do here. Discover is accepted at the places I love to shop. Getteth with the times.
With the times, you're playing the lute.
Yeah, and it sounds pretty good, right?
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
Progressive knows you've got enough to worry about in life.
Hi, it's your life again. Feel like another year is just slipping away? Yeah, remember all those New Year's resolutions you made? You still haven't finished the first book. Just 19 more to go. I mean, if we're being honest, it wasn't a very realistic goal. Have you ever considered that you intentionally self-sabotage? So what's that about?
So let Progressive protect your home and auto, because you've got enough to worry about. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers not available in all states.
A message for qualified investors from Noble Gold Investments. If your portfolio is over $250,000 and you aren't hedged, you're sitting on a ticking time bomb. With markets at all-time highs, history tells us what comes next. A 10% allocation into gold and silver can help diversify. Experienced investors know that in times of economic uncertainty, real assets, not paper promises, offer true security. Noble Gold Investments makes it easy to add institutional-grade gold and silver to your portfolio, so you can hedge like the world's smartest investors. For nearly a decade, Noble Gold has helped thousands of Americans protect their future, turning numbers on a screen into real, tangible assets. And right now, when you make a qualified investment, Noble Gold will add a free 10th-ounce gold coin to your order. Disciplined investors protect what they've built. Visit NobleGoldInvestments.com today. NobleGoldInvestments.com.
Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals, including gold, involves risks. Consult with your tax attorney or financial professional before making an investment decision.
The 715 is a big place, an area code so large, we need a place filled with the things to do in the 715. Well, we've got it. It's called AroundThe715.com, and it is loaded from DJ trivia to goat yoga, book sales, farmers markets, parades, concerts, hayrides, something for every season, and especially this season. Something for families, kids, friends, couples, singles, small groups, large groups, it doesn't matter. Mostly, it's a place loaded with things for you to do in the 715 and around the 715. AroundThe715.com.
Rapid radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage. For a limited time, go to rapidradios.com now for 60% off and free UPS shipping. Add code radio and get an extra 5% off.
Stand by as we continue our dig for the truth and the toy at the bottom of the cereal box.
Oh, got it.
The Dan Kasper Show.
Jake from State Farm says some of the food in the stadium and the market stands, he says, were some of the worst I've ever had. That's saying something from a guy who's eaten woodpecker roasted on a stick over a fire. So I don't know what you had, but my food was pretty good. I had Wagyu sliders.
Okay.
Biscuits with some spicy chicken in it. Oh, best red potato salad I've ever had.
Nice.
You as a foodie would have liked.
Oh, boy.
Oh, yeah. It was... I went for seconds.
If the draft does come to the Twin Cities, and let's be real, it's going to probably early 2030s, I'm going to guess, because it doesn't, as I said before, it doesn't sound like an absolute priority. It'll get there. I'll go.
Yeah.
Again, with the whole, like, is that a thing? Yeah, it's close enough. Sure, why not? And for the food part, whatever that is, yeah.
I'd go more as a fan next time. That sort of feel. So maybe I won't
like
be
the
sick
NFL,
afterwards.
it's literally the capital NFL experience.
Yeah.
Sure, I'll do that.
Yep. All right, let's do some picks as we wrap things up here. We're going to do some NBA. We'll do a little Stanley Cup and MLB games. Let's start off with the MLB schedule. We'll go Cardinals taking on the Reds today.
I'm going to go Reds.
Yeah. Well, it is a doubleheader, so.
Second game.
Yeah.
Who they got?
Split or
undecided for the Reds.
Yeah.
I think the Reds take one of them. I think it's a split.
I'll go split. Let's do Tigers taking on the Astros.
The Tigres.
I'll go Tigers too. Let's do Giants Padres.
Ooh, that's a good matchup. I'll take the Pods.
I'm going to take the Padres, too. Let's do the Yankees and Orioles.
Talk about a disappointing team, Orioles, this year so far. But I'm going to take Baltimore in this.
I'll take the Yankees for this one. Let's do Boston and Toronto.
Can Dalton Varsho follow up his catch? I'll go Boston.
I'm going to go Boston as well. Let's do Arizona taking on the Mets.
Ooh.
Corbin Burns on the mound for Diamondbacks.
I'm going to go... I'll go Mets.
I'll go Diamondbacks, and the Mets suffer their 10th loss, making them the last team to have double-digit losses.
Okay.
So then we'll do Twins taking on the Guardians.
I'm going to take the Twins. I think they take this series as well.
I'll go Guardians. And then we've got Milwaukee taking on the White Sox. Tobias Myers with his second start going up against Shane Smith.
I'll take the Brewers.
I'll go Brewers, too.
Okay.
Let's do... Okay, we still got some NBA games. We just got a couple for tonight.
Mm-hmm.
One of them's pretty big for you. But first, Golden State, Houston. Golden State, will they win the series?
Ooh, boy. Yeah, they close it out. I know Houston's favored, but I think Golden State finds a way to pull this one off.
I did pick Golden State to win this series. I'm looking pretty darn smart right now. Not really, but I think a lot of people did.
Means a lot of people are smart.
Yeah. I'm going to take Houston to win this one.
Okay.
And then will the T-Wolves close it out against the Lakers in L.A.?
No, this is so obvious that the Lakers are going to be winning this one, which, okay, I would not surprise me if, this really isn't going to work for them. Still feels like the Lakers are still going to figure out a way to win this series, and maybe it's a combination of they're the Lakers, they have Luka, killed off the Wolves last year. It's the Wolves. They have a tendency to blow stuff. I think I'm picking the Lakers tonight. Yeah. The foul call differential, that was like the immediate joke as soon as that game was over. Like, okay, the next one's going to be like 65-10 Lakers. I'll pick the Lakers tonight. But let's be real. I think the Wolves are the better team.
Yeah.
I think they're going to win this one. I think they're a more mature team than other years. They should win this series. And I think they will win the series. I would not be surprised if the Lakers come back from 3-1 down. Yeah. But I think the Wolves will win it. It's just going to be Game 6 or Game 7.
Lakers win tonight, but Wolves win the series.
Yep. Yeah.
Let's go to the Stanley Cup playoffs. We got 3 games tonight. Montreal at Washington. Washington leads 3-1.
The Caps move on.
I agree. Go Ovi. Mm-hmm. Florida at Tampa Bay. Florida leads 3-1.
The Battle of Florida. Well, remember, that's Stanley Cup's been there for this decade so far. I'll take the Ning. I'll say this goes on for another game.
I was going to go Lightning too. So, and then tied at 2 apiece, we got St. Louis at Winnipeg.
I'll take the Jets, and I'm not ruling out the Blues winning this series.
I'm going to take the Jets tonight. But, man, tomorrow night's game, I mean, you got to be – Minnesota was this close to having a 3-1 lead.
I mean, that's technically the right call.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if we're going to say that about the LeBron James foul, we're going to say that about Nyquist being over the line. Look, it happens elsewhere. How many holding calls have we seen that are completely unrelated to a play in the NFL? But you call it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, it was a gut punch. Tomorrow, I think the Wild can actually send this to 7, and I don't think they're going to win the series. But I do think they send it to 7. Props too for Marc-Andre Fleury. He's got the record now.
Yeah.
Most years of a playoff appearance. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's a thing the Wild can claim.
Yep.
That's nice.
Absolutely. So, all right, those are your picks for this morning. So, yeah, Brewers again. Reminder: today's first pitch going to be at 6:40. Let me double check. Where are we at? Oh yeah, 6:40. Yeah, for 6:40, 6:45, around there. 6:40, 6:45, 105.1 FM, 790 AM. So, Tobias Myers is on the mound for the Brewer Crew. Yeah, 6:40. Okay, I had to double check because this schedule has TBD, so I got to update that schedule. didn't get the big one from Beerman Josh, so it's screwing me up. Beerman Josh.
Come on.
But yeah, 6:40 first pitch. You could listen to that at 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Brewers win. They secure at least a series win against the White Sox. Would be nice if they could sweep this and go into that Cubs series playing some good baseball and maybe making up some ground in that division chase. So,
I mean, the Brewers have owned the Cubs a little bit of late. You think that's still the case here? I mean, we're doing maybe another quick picks and predicts.
Do they have any of the pitching matchups? TBD. So, no, they don't have any of the pitching matchups. I would imagine Quintana's going to get one of those.
Yeah.
Starts against the Cubs. I would imagine that's going to be one of them. Freddie pitched last night, so no. Well, at least Quintana's got our ace right now. That'll probably be the game that he just screws up and everything. So
I will go so far as to say right now, and my picks are usually not that great, so don't take this to the bank. I think the Brewers win the series.
Ooh, great. That means that's not going to happen.
Not going to happen.
So,
sorry.
There you have it. All right. That's it for us, DP Dads. We're up next. Have a good Wednesday. We'll be back at it again tomorrow morning. Same place, same time, 6 a.m. Talk to you then.
You're listening to the Dan Patrick Show on WAYY Eau Claire, W286CK Eau Claire, Sports Talk 105.1.
You're out, you're about, but you want your Dan Patrick. Well, good news, he goes everywhere with you. If you missed the show, you can podcast it. If you want to see the show, just go to Peacock, and we stream it live every weekday. Watch past episodes, too. The Dan Patrick Show, available anywhere you are, any way you want it.
Dan Patrick.
I'm telling you, the Pacers, they can score. They probably love the fact that nobody talks about them at all. Don't sleep on the Pacers beating Cleveland.
Oh, Dan.
How could you do that to me?
How could you? I thought it was bad enough when you platformed soft turn.
Are the Cavaliers the Washington Wizards of 12-0 starts in the NBA?
But at least he had the sense to repent.
I atone for my sins. Cleveland has a good chance at winning the finals.
Poor soft herd knew not what he was saying back in November. But Dan, you know better.
That's the largest point differential in a playoff series in NBA history.
And yet you still have the audacity to question the Cavaliers.
Disgraceful.
Broadcasting from the Milford Man Cave.
Somebody sounds a little defensive. Am I right?
A man I used to respect.
Dan Patrick.
Hour 2 on this Wednesday. Dan and the Danettes, Dan Patrick Show. Our good buddy Ross Tucker will stop by. Charles Barkley will join us as well. We will check in with the North Carolina football team following the interview this Sunday with Bill Belichick and a little bit of his girlfriend there as well. Pacers close out the Bucks. The drama was late in the game and then after the game, which we discussed with Tyrese Halliburton's dad confronting Giannis. Pistons still alive. Celtics close out the Magic, and the Nuggets beat the Clippers. Tonight, Warriors at the Rockets. That's Game 5. Timberwolves are 5.5-point underdogs at the Lakers. I think Golden State might be an underdog tonight. They're a 4-point underdog against the Rockets. We did talk a little bit about the teams that were eliminated, certainly with the Bucks and the future of Giannis in Milwaukee. I think it's a question that has to be asked to Giannis, and I think that was asked to him. He's not going to answer anything. I'm talking about ownership, management, talking to him. What does he want to do? Because he might say, I want to stay here. Continue to build around me. I'm 30 years of age. I still have 5, great years that we can still win another championship. I mean, that would be the mindset. Now,